What is going on, everybody? It is episode 294 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary, and it is a Wednesday, contrary to popular belief. We know what day it is. Stop gaslighting Brett. Anyway, today we've got two guests in the studio. Firstly, introduce yourself, please.
My name is Chris Bertman. I'm a writer for timcast.com.
Hello, Chris Bertman.
How's it going?
How you doing?
Good.
Write any fun articles today?
A couple, yeah. A little slow, but...
What'd you write about?
Not the thing we were talking about before.
Perfectly true. All right, and we have a second guest host today. Not one, but two today. Introduce yourself, sir.
Oh, you scared the crap out of me.
That is what I did.
I love your shtick.
Thanks. I'm Wesley Roth. I am the writer-director, co-writer-director of Cast Castle on timcast.com.
How you doing?
I am here.
Whoa, you just got really loud.
Yeah.
I got really loud.
Yeah, everybody's getting real loud.
Mary, go ahead.
Is our sound
We're
okay?
getting loud in the house.
I hope I'm looking at the chat. Are we getting people saying that the sound's off?
That's my fault. Wesley, go ahead and talk again. You were talking low there.
Oh. What would you like me to say?
There we go.
Yeah.
It's my fault, guys. I turned the wrong knob. I literally I started adjusting Mary's volume for Wesley talking. So I think you're good now, Mary.
Okay. You're not wearing a bad luck hat today, are you, Brett?
No, I'm not.
Okay, just checking.
We're good. It's Wesley was quieter than usual on that intro there.
Yeah, well, it's been a day.
It's been one of those days. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today, guys. So Disney, coming up with Star Wars Celebration, is going to do something that all smart companies do, and they're going to do a drag panel talking about basically Disney Star Wars Drag Queen Story Hour. It's going to be family-friendly, wholesome, and not at all groomerish, I'm sure.
That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but we'll get into the details later on.
Was it a little hyperbolic? It might have been a little
bit.
hyperbolic. All right, we're also going to talk about the marketing campaign to bring Warrior Nun back. They're putting their money where their mouth is, whether you think the show is worth saving or not. They have taken out they have taken out a billboard. They're going to try and get it all done, so we're going to talk about that. We are also going to talk about the fact, we are going to talk about the fact that in Hollywood, Zachary Levi talking about Pfizer is considered the same as Ezra Miller being an absolute weirdo creep criminal. It's the same thing in Hollywood.
Yes.
It's not any different. So to them, it's all the same thing. We are also going to talk about how we've progressed so far in society that a Canadian theater is introducing racially segregated performances because... You know what? We've was that horseshoe theory? We've literally come all the way around full circle to right back where we started. And Anna Delvey is back in the news where she's joining the likes of Bad Baby in speaking at prestigious universities she has no right speaking at.
Academia is totally worth your money, guys.
Yes.
You should still be taking out student loans.
Yes.
Definitely.
Exactly. So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. We don't really have a cringe of the day per se, but Alec Baldwin is what I would consider the cringe of the day.
We do have a cringe of the day from Will Smith.
Oh, we do. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
We'll look at that one first. Then we'll do that, and then we'll do Alec Baldwin.
A lot of people enjoyed Bad Boys for Life.
Yes.
And now Will Smith has gotten wise to the fact that nobody wants another slavery movie.
Yes.
And he has announced that there is another Bad Boys, a Bad Boys 4 coming up.
So here we go.
Y'all better stop scrolling, seriously. Oh, I'm hype. I hit myself in the eye with my camera.
I don't like the whole I'm a YouTuber
All right, hold on.
thing.
I'm gonna give y'all a hint.
It's way too close.
Oh, that's my John. I wish I was you, not knowing what I'm about to show me. Oh, sugar. Oh, I'm pulling in. We here. Hold
He
up.
gets arrested for filming with his camera.
It's about that time. Marty Ma! Marty Ma! Hold up, getting that love in there. Marty Ma!
What up, man?
Hey,
It's about that time.
it's about that time.
It's
y'all.
official, y'all.
Y'all know what it is, right?
It's official.
Let's
Bad
do it.
Boys
For
for
life.
life, baby.
That's
for
right.
life.
Well, we did 4.
Wait.
But it's still Bad Boys
But it's
for life.
for life. But the third one, the third
Well,
one was
wait, was
it
it-
was called Bad Boys for. We should
For
have
life.
called
What
We
was
shouldn't
like?
We shouldn't have called it that though.
It's
It's actually
It's
true.
like
They
the
shouldn't have
three
called it
was-
Bad
Okay,
Boys
but
for
this
Life.
is this is giving Hugh Jackman
The
and
E
Ryan
was-
Reynolds
the three-
all over
but
again.
This is Bad Boys 4. It's official.
That's right, y'all.
It's very funny, like how many times they probably had to go back and reshoot that scene where he enters.
So
at the
inorganic, dude.
door.
It's really like the Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds vibe announcing.
We're best friends, guys, aren't we? We're best friends.
That was
just-
what was Will Smith doing his hello fellow kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello, fellow
exactly.
YouTubers.
I mean, it's reminding me that his comeback film being Emancipation was just such a bad choice.
Horrible idea. Horrible idea.
Because it's not what he's known and loved for.
Nope.
And I was thinking about Slapgate again because the Oscars are coming up and it's almost been a year since the slap happened.
Yep. The
And
slap-iversary, if you will.
I think everyone, yeah, it's the slap-iversary, and everyone really mishandled that situation because they didn't call out the fact that he was just letting out his aggression toward Jada on Chris Rock. Was he not? I
Maybe.
think that's like the most obvious explanation for that outburst is that he wanted to strike Jada, which he shouldn't,
No,
and
he should
no
not.
man should. But he wanted to strike Jada, and
Somebody check
instead,
to see if he's got a Jada pillow at home.
right?
They need to check.
Instead, he
That's not a
charged
good
it
sign.
at Chris Rock.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I hope he's worked out whatever internal issues.
Wait,
he
isn't
had
there going to
then.
be a Dana White slap show?
Yep.
Like
Is
the
there?
big
Yeah.
slap. They need to have him on there. Him and Chris Rock should be on that together. That would be a great episode.
That was a missed advertising
That was a
opportunity.
huge missed advertising.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also funny that are they going through with that show after Dana White's whole slapping incident with his
Yeah.
wife at
Yeah.
on New Year's?
That was
It
the
was a
best
slap,
advertisement
not
is
a
there.
punch.
Okay.
Yeah, like was that what it was? He's like, that's what they use. That's what they run as the advertisement. It's like nobody knows slapping like Dana White.
No.
That's all. It was a psyop. That's all it was. Advertisement for the show.
Absolutely. So it's not just that, guys. We have Alec Baldwin has been formally charged with involuntary manslaughter, as well as Hannah Gutierrez Reed. I can't believe it. I mean, I don't think he'll do any jail time. I think his expensive lawyers will get him out of this.
These
but-
details are funny. It says the DEA said Baldwin was supposed to undergo firearms training, but
yes.
failed to do so. He was supposed to get minimal training of 30 minutes, but was on his phone most of the time speaking with family.
Yep.
Oh, it's just like it's so obvious that he was in criminal negligence territory, but
Yeah.
won't receive the consequences for it.
Not at
I'm
all.
not saying like up to 5 years in prison is like, I don't know if that's like the just outcome, but he's not even going to do more than pay a fine probably.
No, not at all.
It's disheartening.
Then what happens to her? What happens to Hannah Gutierrez Reed? Thoughts?
Maybe she'll get a worse punishment because she doesn't have celebrity status like
Probably.
he does.
Yeah, well, I mean, she won't be able to afford the lawyers he does. But not
Right.
just that. I got an update. So they are allowing, if you remember, we did the topic the other day about Andrea Riseborough and her nomination for the Oscars. They are letting that stand. They are not removing her for racial reasons or otherwise. There was no
They would have been
impropriety.
removing her from the nomination for being white.
Yes.
Essentially. Like, that's what it would have been.
It would have been something like that. So, all right, guys. Now that we've done cringy, hello, fellow YouTubers, Will Smith video of the day. Are we
Hello,
ready to get
fellow
started?
YouTubers.
Mary, are you ready?
We're ready.
Chris,
Ready?
Wesley?
Let's do it anyway.
Well, all right then. Thank you for giving us such good vibes for today, Wesley. You're being fantastic.
Uncertain.
All right. It says, the Walt Disney Company's grooming
Wild
agenda
card.
continues. Star Wars Celebration to feature panel about drag shows.
Thank you for this coverage from
Yes.
John F. Trent, by the way.
We love John
Shout
F. Trent
out.
here.
This is hilarious. The Star Wars Celebration is getting held in London, by the way.
Yeah.
I have no idea why. Like, why wouldn't it be held at one of the Disney theme parks in America?
That makes more sense to me.
Right? So they can have all of these
Celebration?
libtard millennials stay in those $5,000 Star Wars themed suites.
Yeah,
And
you
buy
think-
those like tens of thousands of dollars worth of Star Wars themed
I
cocktails.
don't think they have the space. Honestly, just the event space.
You think?
No, like I did Star Wars Celebration 2019.
How was it?
It was huge.
Did you enjoy yourself?
I did.
Or?
Yeah, but I worked it. So
Okay.
But it was at the largest
Okay.
convention center in the country.
Where was that?
Chicago, McCormick
Oh.
Place. It's a really big event, and it like takes over. I'm sure they do have enough space, like to be quite frank. But it's more about. It's not really a Disney thing. It's a Reed Pop Star Wars thing.
Right. Are they the same outfit that does New York Comic Con
Yes.
then?
Yeah, they are, and so it's there. Really, it's really there as repops. Whereas Disney's is D23, and like they don't want to like cross those wires.
Would this be something that they don't want to do it in Florida because of Ron DeSantis?
Maybe.
Is that part of it?
That
I
could
was
be.
wondering the same thing.
They did it in Anaheim last time, so.
But I mean, as if this story could get any worse, everyone there is going to be British.
Chris Carr would be appalled.
And they're also advertising Star Wars Celebration as a family event where you can bring your children, appropriate for all ages.
Yeah.
And yet a panel like this was approved. So I just want to look at the announcement from the YouTuber That Gay Jedi, first of all.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, because Jedi can totally be gay. The tweet said, I am humbled, grateful, and over the forest moons to announce that my Star Wars Celebration panel titled Star Wars is a Drag, Exploring Star Wars Through the Art of Drag has been officially approved. Can't wait to share this with you all. And wow, the blurb that they gave for this panel is just absolutely filled with word salad that makes no sense. Whether your hobby is drag or whether your hobby is Star Wars, both sides are wondering like the people who are into drag are like, what does my hobby have to do with Star Wars? And the Star Wars people are like, what does Star Wars have to do with drag?
It's what
like everyone is extremely confused.
It's what happens when like a liberal arts class studies Star Wars and they have to try to figure out a way to make it fit into the theme. I kid you not, I talked to someone once who would talk about how like dog fights were akin to sexual intercourse.
What?
And then I can't even.
The lengths these people will go in academia to legitimize their studies. It's actually insane.
And I'm talking about like Air Squadron dogfights. I'm not talking about like like the one that James Lindsay did back in the day. Like they will literally find any way to turn like a liberal arts degree into some type of word salad in which they can justify their worldview.
So here is that word salad for you guys.
Go for it.
I'm going to paraphrase it because this is a lot to take in. It said that drag as an art form has reached such cultural significance that the truths and concepts of drag performance permeate countless aspects of our daily lives, including Star Wars. I'd love to know what other aspects of our daily lives are permeated with drag performance.
It's the same thing that they do when they say that something causes violence, and you're like, what violence does this cause exactly?
Language doesn't mean anything
anymore. It doesn't mean anything anymore. They just say something, and you're supposed to, like, is the idea that people are just so distracted and busy? They're like, why would he say it?
That checks out.
Why would he say it if it wasn't true? That doesn't make any sense.
So anyway, I've got some taxes to pay. So this part is the craziest paragraph. They said some of Star Wars' very best characters embody various core principles of drag. Whether it's Din Djarin's drag as personal expression and self-discovery, Asajj Ventress's drag as queer rebellion, or Padme Amidala's drag as self-empowerment. The relevance of drag spills out of the pages and screens of Star Wars and flows through the fandom itself through hobbies like cosplay.
It's like when they did that panel queering Tolkien.
Yeah, I mean, they'll queer literally anything.
Yeah. Like it's literally just critical theory embellished on top of pop culture.
Yeah, maybe it's because like they think lightsabers are phallic symbols.
That it is. It's totally that.
Like okay.
Berman's like, yeah, that's right.
Firstly, you're saying that Ventress is some kind of queer icon just because she's bald. Yeah. Seems a little discriminatory to me.
Yeah.
And then Din Djarin is just the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
How is...
And Padme is a married straight woman.
That's not fair.
With children.
And
but
remember,
how are they? When did they do drag?
They didn't do drag. They embody core principles of drag. Now, I'd love to know the official list of all the core principles of drag and what they entail. I want to go to Star Wars Celebration and get in the Q&A line and really grill them on the facts.
So I was an English major in college, and I graduated with creative writing. And it's got to be that whole department. They absolutely everything. They sexualize and they phallicize. Am I using the right word? Yeah. But like maybe. Everything has to do with something sexual.
Bonerize.
Yeah. They bonerize the whole thing.
The clinical term.
So I'm not surprised.
Right, because they're pseudo-intellectuals. I don't think that anyone on this panel specifically cares about Star Wars that much. They care about queering Star Wars. Maybe the rest of the people at the events are Star Wars fanatics, but then again, why are they
care about it the same as much as your average Instagram thought cares about whatever they're cosplaying?
Right.
The video games.
It is how much can I show, or how can I get you to pay me based on the things you like?
And if they don't think,
so that I don't have to do a real job.
Yeah.
If they think we're lying, let's watch the clip from May. We never talked about this on the show, but we will watch the end of this clip from this.
Like, I love
from
Disney's
Reimagine
content.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like something must have happened in the last. Like it was. I mean, like maybe it was that way in the past.
Who is this person?
This is okay. So it says, I've obtained video from inside Disney's all hands meeting about Florida parental rights and education bill. So this is producer Latoya Ravenue says that her team has implemented a not at all so secret gay agenda and is regularly adding queerness to children's programming.
The showrunners were super welcoming. Meredith Roberts and like our leadership over there has been so welcoming to like my like not at all secret gay agenda. And so like I feel like I felt like it was, I mean, like maybe it was that way in the past, but I guess like something must have happened in the last like they are turning it around, they're going hard. And then all that like momentum that I felt, like that sense of I don't have to be afraid to like, let's have these two characters kiss, let's in the background start, like I was just wherever
in the background
I could, just basically adding queerness to like if you see anything queer in the show, I'm proud of them. But like I just was like, no one would stop me and no one was trying to stop me.
That's because if you do try to stop them, you will be canceled to the high heavens and called a phobe of some sort, and you'll be told that you're a bad person, and you will be sent to not just Twitter jail, but society will tell you that you're awful.
She says like a lot for somebody with a creative writing background.
Who working at Disney would try to stop her anyway?
That's what I'm saying.
Even
like,
if they aren't one of the most extreme activist types.
Yeah.
They'll just allow themselves to be steamrolled by the activists in the organization, and it's not worth it for them to make a complaint about it if they're not ideologically opposed in any way to what's going on. Someone in the chat and a lot of people have pointed this out. Drag performance as a hobby, regardless of your opinions about it morally, it's an inherently sexual thing.
Yeah.
It and it always will be. It always has been, and it's primarily for adult gay males. Okay, so I don't know why this is controversial to point out because for some reason they just want to open the floodgates and allow this hobby to include absolutely anyone. It's not even inclusive of women, let alone of children. And that's, that's fine if they want to have this hobby of drag performance within their own communities, within their private circles, within gay clubs, for instance. And that's why it's always been subversive, right? Because it wasn't something that was open to everyone.
Yeah.
Doesn't that make it more intriguing to the people who enjoy it anyway? That it's not just welcome to everyone, that you don't put this in libraries or in Disney-sponsored fan
like
conventions. Yeah.
And like Michael Malice has said that before. He's like, I have a lot of friends who are into this stuff and in the gay community. They're like, we don't want to be in the mainstream. Like, we're awesome because we're not. Like, from their perspective, we're awesome.
It's an essential component that it isn't mainstream that allows it to exist.
Yeah. And they act like it's like poker. You know what I mean? It's this thing like, you associate it with something else. Like, you would associate poker with gambling, but it's not always gambling. Sometimes
I mean, even poker, I wouldn't introduce children to.
Right, but like you would introduce them to Uno.
Right, yeah.
But I'm saying it's not that. It isn't.
Thank you.
Right.
It is inherent in its sexuality. Like, that is what it is.
We were talking about Velma a little bit yesterday. There was this article claiming it's become a punching bag for the internet because and then their criticism for it was the opposite of what the internet was saying. It doesn't focus enough on sexuality. right? And then another thing we were talking about earlier was Sam Smith's music video for I'm Not Here to Make Friends, where it's just hypersexual, imitating elements of hardcore corn. And I see an article defending it that says... I see an article defending it that says... any entertainment that simply acknowledges the existence of sexuality shouldn't be shielded children shouldn't be shielded from the acknowledgement that sexuality exists, which of course snowballs into Sam Smith walking around in nipple pasties getting peed on. Like, it's never as tame as they claim it is.
I mean, I just find it annoying that they think they can speak clinically and use that as a workaround for you can use all the big words you want. It doesn't make it okay.
They're such grifters too, and I see them pretending to be tough on Twitter about this. The Twitter gays always, in their posts they talk big, but in person they're timid weaklings. Yeah. So this one quote tweet said, "I've started to see disgusting rhetoric about this panel and my people here. Apparently, the bros got riled up. I'm gonna let you know, if anyone at Star Wars Celebration tries to disrespect them in any way, there are way more of us there to defend them. Don't try it."
I'm going to start calling you Brother Mary.
Who is going to Star Wars Celebration that isn't on board with this? Because I'm picturing the most libtarded childless millennials that spend all of their disposable income on consumer goods related to their entertainment franchises.
I will say it wasn't that when I went or when I was there.
2019 even was a different time.
Completely fair. I would agree that that's what it will be now. When I went before, there was a lot of people. It was actually kind of cool in the sense that it was like families. It really was. I didn't see I worked in the panel rooms, and I didn't see anything close to this. I saw gaming. There was even ones about how to build real robots. Like, they're probably gonna have that again. Like, we're people who build real functioning robots. It was interesting, but everything is this now. Everything, and I can say that I can understand from, if you're part of a community that you feel is marginalized, that you'd say education, that we are no different from this person, is that is what you would do. That would be what you want to do. Let's educate people that we are not. I mean, I remember 10 years ago, Mormonism did that. Like, let's teach that we're not different. We're not weird.
Even
I'm just a Mormon.
That is inherently different because...
Right, I know. But I was going to say they can't help themselves.
Right.
And this is a community that is defined by their inability to help themselves. So this is the one...
drag community is something you choose to be a part of.
Right.
It's not an immutable characteristic that you can be discriminated against for. But religious affiliation, I would say, as a matter of freedom of conscience, is still something immutable about you. So drag is just a hobby. It's not a religious devotion that you have.
To them it is. Yeah.
Until it gets to this point where they're literally threatening violence against anyone who shows disrespect at the con.
No. Right. My point was not that they're the same. My point is this is the difference, is that this is a community of people that are having, I'm trying to teach you how little I can help myself in this particular realm.
Right.
Well, the funny thing is
of course it would always come to this.
It doesn't just stop there, guys. It continues on because it's not just Star Wars with Disney. We also have this article from Ironheart star Zoe Tarakis is deeply grateful. Upcoming Marvel series will give little trans kids and trans teens something to look at and know they exist. That's a thing.
Just gross. Can we play the clip?
I think we can play the clip
from this interview.
Yes.
We don't even know what character Zoe Tarakis is going to play in Ironheart, but they're calling it the highly anticipated Marvel series that is anticipated by absolutely no one.
Nobody is anticipating Ironheart.
I'm sorry. Anticipated by the army of Gen Z teenage girls that absolutely love Marvel properties, right? They love comics.
All right.
Soon. I did want to end on one unrelated question because, Zoe, I'm very excited for what's around the corner for you right now. It is a big deal. You should be very proud. And I know there's a lot of people who can't wait to see you in the MCU. What does joining the MCU mean to you personally, but also what kind of influence do you want to have on that franchise?
That's a great question. I think I was talking about this yesterday, actually. I think as trans people, you're kind of, I mean, growing up, I didn't get to see myself anywhere, so I didn't really know that I existed.
What the hell does that mean? What the hell does that mean? I'm actually asking that question. What the hell does that mean?
And especially not as in a superhero show or movie, I think. And so I think I just feel deeply grateful and moved that little trans kids and trans teens have something to look at and to know they exist and to know that, you know, they can have superpowers and that, you know.
No, you can't! Sorry.
Like, that's where we belong. We don't just belong in trauma stories on the fringes, dying in things, you know, like we belong there with the big guys. So
what about the big girls?
What is a guy?
It's funny because trans filmmakers, I'm sure, are the ones making the trauma stories that she's complaining about. So you're literally pigeonholing yourself.
What does it mean to say that you need a multi-billion-dollar company with a multi-billion-dollar property to make stories to prove that you yourself are a human being? Is that because we are so consumerized and we are so self-centered and so vain that we have to constantly see ourselves reflected back at us to even know that we ourselves exist? What the hell does that even say about society?
This is just mindless parroting of things that this actress has likely seen on Tumblr and Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, there's no thought behind it. There is no logic. If you pressed someone like this for their reasoning behind saying, I didn't know I existed, trust me, they would have no explanation beyond you're a bigot for pushing back on what I'm saying right now. And I mean, ultimately, the reasoning behind it is that mega corporations are mommy and daddy, and mommy and daddy never validated me at home. So now I look to Disney to validate me. That's it. And I don't think it's wrong that people want to feel special. Every person wants to feel special and noticed. But it becomes pathological when you are literally forcing yourself on the rest of society and on what they literally call little trans kids and trans teens. Like, you're not hiding your agenda anymore. But we're also conspiracy theorists for pointing out what you're saying explicitly.
The comment earlier from the lady on the Star Wars panel proves to you that it's not a conspiracy theory. That she literally used the phrase "queering everything in sight,"
and no one is going to stop me.
No one's going to stop me.
They power trip when the moment feels right, and then the second they get pushback, it's like, oh my goodness, we're so marginalized and silenced and suppressed.
Nobody cares.
They'll never get enough exposure or money. Grifters gonna grift.
Yeah,
that's as simple as it is.
It's funny too because they'll always dump this stuff on the shows. They'll never put this this will never matter as much in the movies. This is also not the first.
Maybe this is just planting the seeds for them to move it to the box office.
I believe there was a trans actor in Jessica Jones. I don't remember the name, but so it's not even the first that. Also, it'll be another 10 years of this is the first of this person, even though it's been not the first person.
Also, Arrow.
They're saying this isn't the first transgender actor in the MCU. It's the first transgender non-binary actor in the MCU.
Well, then, I mean,
but DC beat them to it, right?
Is this the trans-masculine one that I was reading about the other day?
No, maybe it's not the same
It's not the same one as the trans-masculine one?
So that's why they're saying the first non-binary.
I don't even, as you said, like your entire opening on this was really well said, in that I am more offended by the obsession with the validation from corporate entities that this person is subjected to than what this person feels about their own identity. Their own identity is their own issue, or their own, that's their life. And I, as a libertarian person, like, you do you.
Well, that's the thing. They just can't bear that you don't care about them.
Right, me and you say you do you to her, but then they come up and say, allow me to do me right in front of everyone else as a multi-billion-dollar corporation backs me and calls you names for just trying to stay out of it.
Right, but yes, you're absolutely right. But even just I remember when liberals were the people who were like, I don't care about corporations. And it's like, now that they have an iota of their support, in PR only, it is an obsession that blows my mind. It has turned me from what I used to be, where it's like, let them do what they want, to like, and I'm talking about corporations, to this like anarchist libertarian that I've become, where I'm like, I hate everything about them. I hate everything about Disney. I hate everything about CNN. I hate everything about Warner. I hate it all. Like every time they put something out, it is so cardboard, so hollow. Nothing about it rings true. Like it's like Will Smith knocking on the door, talking to Martin Lawrence, where it's like, there's nothing genuine about this at all.
That's at least a failure of like trying to incorporate regular celebrity into digital culture, which is that's just a failure of the actor to be somewhat like understandable to the average person. That's not the same thing as like pushing ideological beliefs on the entire world. And then claiming that everyone else is holding you back while every corporation in the world backs you.
Going back to the Star Wars drag panel thing, a lot of them feel like they're getting a rare W by pointing out that this isn't a drag show, that it's just a panel talking about drag. I can almost guarantee that the panelists will be cosplaying in drag as Star Wars characters, because how could you not if your panel is about that
and
you're so accomplished about it, right? And it's a con. So yeah, like it's essentially going to be a drag show where they're in character. So that aside, anything related to drag, just don't put it around children. It's a very small ask. Like it really is not asking for much. It's such a low bar. But they won't accommodate that even, because this isn't the family-friendly event that it's advertising itself to be. They will lie to the attendees for profit.
It's more insidious that it comes from Disney, which is marketed as a family-friendly company. Like if Warner Brothers wants to do it, I guess like it's Warner Brothers. They're just a media company, but Disney's. I go back to the same complaint that I have, that this, as much as I do hate the corporations for doing this stuff, I put this on a lot of us and our inability to raise our kids these days. It seems like I'm saying us as a society, that we use our tablets and our computers as parenting devices rather than as ways to actually help educate our children, and that we're constantly putting the responsibility on Disney, who is half ideologically inclined and half profit driven, right? Like they fall on both sides of the spectrum there.
I don't even know if it's half and half anymore.
But the point is that we're expecting them to parent our children when it has to be us as a society. You know, I guess what you'd say, what the libertarian idea behind this is that you have to change the culture because the government isn't going to do it for you. I don't want to get the government involved. I don't want to get the government involved in stuff like this. I want the parents and the kids and the parents and the people buying Disney products to pay close enough attention, and this is why this show exists. People underestimate, and we talk about this, that everyone's in an echo chamber, and I've got friends who have no clue that any of this stuff is going on in entertainment. So it's our fault. It's our fault as a society that this takes place and is slipped in right under our noses. And have you ever heard the Bill Burr skit where he talks about being a mom isn't the hardest job?
Yeah.
The idea here behind that argument is like, maybe it's not the hardest job, but it is the most important job in the world. It is your job as a parent with the most important job in society of raising the next generation to, at the very least, know the things that your kid is consuming on a daily basis. Would you, I guess in America, would you let them eat anything they want? No, you would not. Why would you let them consume any entertainment they want without at least vetting it first? Or at the very least, doing a cursory look into what these corporations are doing in current year. And that's why, you know, outside of the laughing at Atrioc yesterday and the stupid stuff, it's why this show is important, is that there has to be people that point out that it's not just the companies that suck. We kind of suck too as a society.
I think in this specific example, it's also a massive cope for the fact that today's generation of children and adolescents, and even a lot of young adults, they just don't care about these properties anymore, not only because they've been bastardized by corporations like Disney, but just the times are changing. And, you know, promoting all of this LGBT representation BS at a convention like this, it's not attracting the young people. You're actually appealing to the older crowd that is using something they grew up with untainted as an instrument to influence younger people, and it's failing. It doesn't resonate with younger people. They don't care about. I'm sorry. I maybe I'm out of touch for thinking this. I don't think young people care about Star Wars anymore. I don't think young people care about comics anymore.
Comics, no. Comic movies. I mean,
comic movies maybe, but movies certainly doesn't translate both ways.
I don't know where the on demographic lines. I think a lot of this is it's become the perfect storm where we got a whole bunch of millennials who are so far we've been so displaced by society where you can't save for a house reasonably anyways. You might as well waste all your money on Funko Pops and garbage. So it's the millennials who were part of the legalization of gay marriage. There was no new fight to be had after that. So then it got pushed into a weird form of consumerism that once pushed back on corporations, and I talked about this the other day, there's that article about how corporations realized after the 2008 financial crisis that they had to start using activism as the next form of capitalism. And it's become this perfect storm in which gender and sexuality-based ideologies latched onto it the same way race-based ideologies latched on to the Occupy movement, right? So we're in this perfect place where we could actually make the argument here that this is capitalism. It's society and capitalism failing all at the same time. I know it's not actually the capitalism's fault. It's a cultural and a societal fail, but I'm just saying it's amplified by the fact that we are an extremely consumerist country and we're buying what they're selling, which is weird crap that we don't want and we understand is a problem, but the average person doesn't. So
let's go to Super Chats.
Let's do it.
Potatoes for Seamus said, so glad to see Wesley here to dance and sing with Ian.
Yes.
Wait, what?
He made a video.
Okay. So. X said, you have to pull up Pop Culture Crisis Greatest Hits Volume 2 by Gross John. It renewed my love of the internet. Someone mentioned it yesterday.
It's 28 minutes long.
And he said, especially where y'all are dubbed in Italian. 28 minutes long?
It's 28 minutes. I haven't watched it yet. I haven't saved.
What?
I have it bookmarked. I'm going to watch it.
I hope that they post some clips from that on the subreddit. David Wilson said, I don't know, man. It's so weird how so many actors have a hard time looking genuine when their whole job is to act. LOL.
I actually thought he
drama,
did fine.
Mary.
Did I say
drama?
Did you? I actually thought Will Smith did. There's no way anyone looks natural doing what he tried to do there. He did about as well as you can do in that extreme. Will Smith.
Oh yeah.
In that extremely manufactured situation where he if he really wanted it to be funny, what he would do is show himself getting the email that he has to make the video, and then look kind of taken
the executives are use your whole YouTuber shtick.
Yeah, if he had done that, that would actually be kind of subversive and cool.
Yeah, but he's not capable of that.
Well, that's a lot of thought. That's a lot of thought that would have to go into that. And even then,
spit your rowdy out.
And even then, it would have to be corporate approved. Is he allowed to look annoyed by the email he got from the studio? That's actually a question that would have to be asked, and proof why at the major corporate level there is no authenticity.
Spaghetti Warrior 66 said, Wokesville, population Brett.
I still don't even know what episode that was from.
I don't remember.
Does anybody when did you say Wokesville population U? I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
I don't remember when that was made.
Caper2X said, Mary, we all could enjoy Jabba the Hutt in drag. Make mine Marvel.
Please no. Ew. No Jabba the Hutt in drag. No
Biddy
Jabba the
Beasley.
Hutt at all, personally.
Biddy Beasley said, DeSantis. Well, isn't Jar Jar Binks the ultimate queer representation, though?
Uh-oh.
Why isn't
no!
Why isn't the party going off? You turned off the party sound, Brett. At least we were spared the beginning of that sound.
Yes. I turned it down yesterday because I reset the meter while IRL was going on.
Oh, right.
Damn it.
Okay.
My fault, guys.
Okay. Biddy Beasley said, DeSantis is not based. There are drag shows here all the time. I go to drag protests all the time. You can pretty much throw a dart at the map and find one. Well, what is he gonna do? Send the SWAT team to raid drag clubs?
I don't care if adults.
I don't think you were implying that he would ban it. You were implying that because he's there, they won't go there.
Yeah, the implication is that Disney's ideological stance as the corporation running this property would be like, we're not going to hold this profitable event in Florida because it would provide revenue to the state.
And I don't care.
Right, they would put a pinch on them from their perspective.
I do not
which
care.
He's like, whatever.
I do not care if adults want to go to drag shows.
No, neither do I.
Nobody get like,
no.
What's up?
Somebody in the chat said Jar Jar Kinks.
Oh, no.
That's perfect.
You're hired.
I love it.
Send your application to jobs@timcast.com.
RS Degurchaff said, what's next? Star Trek drag?
I mean, that would have made more sense first.
They're not owned by a woke mega corporation, are they?
I mean, they're owned by
CBS,
CBS and Paramount. Yeah. So it's funny, they're going through it. Like, there's theoretically going to be another Paramount rebrand. With
Paramount
Showtime.
Plus from CBS All Access to Paramount Plus
and Showtime or whatever. I think so. It's gonna be like Para Show or or Showtime. I don't freaking know, but it's a bummer too because I love my Paramount Plus not as much as I love Peacock. Yeah. Man, that's a weird thing to say. And by the way, guys, I looked for for USA Network merch. There is no USA Network merch that I could find.
Weren't you gonna rant about Will Trent?
Oh, Will Trent is awful.
In the beginning of the show,
I literally have notes on how much I hated Will Trent. I'm sorry, Caper2X, but Will Trent is literally everything that is wrong.
I thought you were gonna say Will Trent is literally Hitler.
He's that too. Look in the second episode, they managed to do a thing where a blue-haired they/them gets preyed on by a landlord. So it's like they got to like take that capitalism and take that patriarchy because it's
which is very anti-immigrant.
Yeah, all of the white people are dumb and ineffectual. None of the actual minority characters, which are all done by these incredible actors, get any actual flaws because they basically I kid you not. So Will Trent's flaw is awesome. It's his dyslexia. Which makes sense. Like they make it a story point where he hides his dyslexia because, people might question whether he could do his job. As somebody who has trouble reading on this show all the time, I understand completely, right? But the other character, Polanski or whatever her name is, whoever is dressing her should be fired immediately and have to look for another job. No cop in the world would ever dress like that. Not even a Hollywood cop would dress like that. Her big thing that she's hiding from everyone is that she's got diabetes, and she doesn't want to do like the finger. Yes, that's a thing. It's awful. It's aggressively at its best. It's aggressively mediocre with its storytelling. Where in episode 3, there's a conspiracy theorist who uses the line "I'm not a sheep," and it becomes about a racist sheriff. And then, of course, the racist sheriff, who they have to point out right away in the first 5 minutes is racist, is replaced by the black female sheriff. And in a world where statistically every woman on Earth decides not to go into HR, into makeup, into any profession other than law enforcement, apparently, because there's a statistically unrealistic number of like every law enforcement officer is female except for Will Trent and the other one who's played by Jake McLaughlin, who's this great actor, who's the only one who gets to do anything that seems real because he's the one who's... Thank you. See?
Thank you.
Surge commercials.
Whoa,
yes.
Big super chat.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's awful. Like the character that Jake McLaughlin plays is the only one who like seems kind of like interesting, and then his female partner, who is a former vice cop who's dealing with drug addiction. They're the only ones who are given any flaws, and the rest of it is just the writing's awful. I'm sorry. I gave the show more than one shot, and it just the one cop says, he goes, Will's in charge of this case, and the guy goes, yeah, in the fascist sense of the word, and it's done to be like, look at the dumb white guy who doesn't know what these words mean. It's awful. Episode 4 has all of these horrible fathers, and there's a religious theme. It's terrible. I'm sorry.
I'm surprised at how far you got into it.
I skipped. I made it through 10 minutes of episode 3, and I skipped it. I went straight to episode 4, and there was in episodes 1 and 2, there were bright spots that could have been construed as what could have turned into a semi-decent show. And it becomes so far below average, it's actually infuriating. It further proves that no genre of television suffered worse out of Trump derangement syndrome in 2016 than network procedurals and medical dramas.
But what didn't you like about it?
I can list you some things that were good about it. Ramon Rodriguez is a good actor, and he has the more subtle of the accents, which I liked. Like they have to, because they're in Georgia, and all of the accents sound like somebody's like, I looked up Georgia on a map, and I listened to some videos. His is more subtle than the others. The girl who plays his like girlfriend, the one with the drug addiction, she's got a unique charisma about her. Sonia San is a very good actress, but they don't give her enough to do. Plus, she's getting to an age now where it's like she plays a captain, but when she was younger, she had an edge about her, and that's what was really good about her performance. She's underutilized in a show where you need her to have more of an edge. It's just bad use of actors, bad use of everything. I can't believe that there were people that were advocating for this show. Just no to the blue-haired they/them who gets abused by the landlord. I just pictured a writer's room of Hollywood losers. Like, yeah, man, we totally stuck it to the patriarchy and to capitalism all at once.
Where'd this idea come from that landlords are evil instead of just stupid and incompetent? Yeah. All right. Caper2X said, let's pitch in for Mary's one-way ticket to the UK. Why a one-way ticket? I don't want to stay there.
She doesn't want to stay there.
Jeez. Patriot American said, one day we're going to raise enough money to get Star Wars and Lucasfilms out from under Disney's woke agenda they're trying to insert into the fandom.
The better thing to do would be to create something more awesome, like what Young Ripa's doing. Build our own things. Because here's the thing. If it ruins it now, like it would be twice as much work to then get it back and then have to like not ruin it again.
People are excited about Rebel Moon.
Yes. Oh yeah. I'm excited to watch Rebel Moon. Like that's like, and it's the thing. What Will Trent has proved to me, it further proves my point that nothing goes worse than television. Movies, yes, they include some wokish elements, but they're too short. And there's not enough time to end with a freaking landlord ruining some blue-haired person's life and then making the show about that, right? That's the side, that's the B plot in the show. Theoretically, in the movie, they don't have time to smash the patriarchy with the blue-haired person in the B plot.
Yeah, and a TV show can't fail the same way.
No.
Like, the ad space is already sold.
Yeah.
Whereas a movie, it's like if people don't show up because...
Well, that's the problem, right? They don't have an incentive to make it better.
Chuck Caver2X said... If she does well at the questions period, we pay her way back. I will. You know I will. David Wilson said, you don't get it. We just got to Riz the kids, man.
I was told the other day that Riz is short for charisma. Is this true?
Is it?
That's what I was told.
I've never heard that.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Wow, okay. Charlie Red said, I can't begin to understand what it would be like to need to see someone of your race or sexual orientation representing you like a product. They don't realize they're the bigot or racist.
Is it possible? Look, I'm willing to say, as a straight white male, you've been inundated with those characteristics, right? Your whole life in movies and television. But is it also possibly true that you just never looked at it that way? I never looked at a Wesley Snipes movie. I never looked at a Denzel Washington movie and looked to see if he looked like me. I looked for a great performance from an amazing actor. It's the already identity-obsessed people that want to see that. It's not the other way around.
Right, and it's also, like the point you just made, those things are conveniently left out. Like Black Panther, first black superhero. It's like, well, no, actually not. There was.
Well, they say they get away with it by saying first black MCU character when technically Blade did not exist in the MCU.
Right, I know, but like, yes, people who know what they're doing. Yeah. Yes, but most people just said first black superhero, first major black superhero, first. How many times have we had first gay character? Like, how many? Like,
it's literally never ending. Yeah. Like it's going to be 2040.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Mary will be married.
The female superhero.
Yeah.
You know,
in 2050, Mary will be married with kids, and I'll still be doing this show, and we'll still be talking.
I want grandkids in 2050.
And we'll still be talking about the first this or that. We'll never get away from it. It'll just be...
There will be like entirely new words that are the equivalent of non-binary by then. There are going to be so many new
And I'm just going to be exhausted and cry. I'm going to cry. I'm just going to start crying on air.
Don't make bad predictions like that.
I can't stress enough that I have extreme empathy for somebody who has an issue like that or has an identity that they don't.
Yeah.
I have empathy for that. I have empathy for and nor do I begrudge anybody for living the life that they want to live.
Yeah.
But it's the corporate needing to be validated by a corporation. It just for whatever it is, like you said, like who said that they want to see themselves turned into a commodity, and that is psychotic.
And people back in the day,
you shouldn't want that. You shouldn't want that.
When you were part of a subculture, especially one that was it's not the same thing, but rollerblading was always seen as a lesser of skateboarding in these sports because of the way the sport started. I never needed validation from Nike or a company to know that what I did ruled. What I did ruled because I did it well. I don't need a multi-billion-dollar corporation to tell me that I'm doing something good. And it's weird how now the ones who used to have the strongest willpower, the ones who chose by their own nature to exist apart from what we consider polite society, right? Like the ones who chose to be part of hobbies that regular people, for whatever reason and whether right or wrong, look down upon. Mm-hmm. They did what they did. They loved who they loved, and they did it proudly, but without the need for validation or approval. Now they need your approval, your validation, and they need you to not just accept it, but love it and respect it. And I can love it and respect it. I have no problem with what you're doing, but I don't think you have the right to require that of other people. And I don't think it's fair to use corporations to bludgeon that into people while you claim victim status.
It also ruins it. I wasn't a rollerblader, but I was a skateboarder. And when I was skateboarding, there were people in the administration of my school that were like, how can we make this a school activity? And we're like, no,
we don't want
don't do that. You're going to make skateboarding as awful as cup stacking. Sorry, cup stackers.
Frank Herbert in the chat says
that became a school sport in my school. And it's like, I don't want that. Don't do that to skateboarding. Don't do it. Leave us alone.
Frank Herbert in the chat says fruit booter. Yes, I got called that plenty growing up.
Fruit booter?
To this day, when I go to because society has changed so much, when I go to a skate park and people are nice to me, I hate it. Yeah. I'm like, this is uncomfortable. I wish there was more animosity and dislike amongst us. I didn't feel that way about people, but you get so used to it. You're like, why is everyone being so nice? It feels fake.
Yeah.
Because it's not normal.
Someone said we need loony bins.
Yes, let's do one more and then we'll move on.
Potatoes for Seamus said, whoa, Brett, calm down, language, bro. Wes.
That was from earlier in the show, not from my
Were
Will
you using bad
reference.
language?
I don't think I was, but
Okay.
I could have been. All right, let's move on.
He's a fruiter.
Yes. All right, guys. So if you remember, not in the not so distant past, when Zack Snyder and all of the Snyder fans were promoting the idea of getting the Snyderverse, the Snyder cut of the Justice League movie made, they did a lot of work to get that movie brought into the public eye and then brought into the eye of Warner Brothers. Well, the fans of Warrior Nun are on their own crusade to get Warrior Nun brought back to Netflix.
It's like that crusade of the Snyderverse, but way more annoying.
Yes.
We talked about this before, just on the topic of all of these gay shows that get canceled. One of the major themes in the show is that the main characters are gay.
Yeah. So they rented out a billboard out front of Netflix's Los Angeles office on Sunset Boulevard. Mm-hmm. Cost them $34,000. They crowdfunded the money. Look, I got mad respect for people who love something enough that they're willing to raise the money to do this.
They have it there for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
It says #SaveWarriorNun, and they say that all the Netflix employees, at least the ones who go into the office still, will be seeing this on their way to work for the next month.
They're screwed by work from home.
Right, exactly. I was thinking that, is it a ghost town in there? Is anyone going to see this? I think this comes off as juvenile. It's cool that they're willing to, band around something they're enthusiastic about, but it seems juvenile because they don't understand the reasoning that goes behind a corporate decision like this. And
it's hatred.
Even
right?
the showrunner.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, right.
Hatred,
yeah.
yeah.
It wasn't canceled because of ratings. It was canceled because of bigotry.
Yeah. The showrunner himself, Simon Barry, seems to have a very balanced opinion on this compared to the fandom. He said, more people watched season 1 than season 2, therefore it didn't meet the bar that is their internal standard for what is worth renewing. It's not something you can have an argument about. Yet, and he even said it doesn't feel like we are being singled out.
Makes perfect sense.
And yet, the fandom for Warrior Nun, being a bunch of Twitter gays that are likely like a lot of high schoolers who don't understand the adult world and the fact that money exists.
I thought you were saying that it wasn't Gen Z that was into this type of stuff. That was like into
what type of
into
stuff?
This type of activism. Like, or no, I guess you were talking mainly just about comic books and in Star Wars.
Oh no, like Gen Z is the population of Twitter stan accounts and Tumblr shipping.
It's also, this makes perfect sense because Simon Barry was the creator of the highly underrated show Continuum. Everyone should go watch. Actually, that's impossible. It's like Continuum is kind of like the show Haven and Lost Girl, which means they're like, they just disappeared one day. Like, you can watch Lost Girl on the CW app, and that's
Is that Simon Barry's thing? He makes a show and then it just goes poof.
He didn't make those other two, but it's in the same vein of these shows that are like vaguely Canadian. So I love about them.
Vaguely Canadian.
They're meaning that they're like Continuum takes place in Seattle, which just means Toronto or Vancouver. Like, it's like everywhere stands in, like Canada stands in for everywhere, but particularly Seattle. So it's like Simon Barry seems like a pretty rational dude.
Mm-hmm. Well, the fandom has an entirely different perspective than the showrunner, and they seem to be arguing that Warrior Nun got canceled because Netflix is actively working against sapphic representation.
Of course. There's that word
they
again.
don't want to have teenage lesbians on screen anymore. They decided they're anti-LGBT, which, as we all know, obviously is not the case. They have a 28-day rule that, if something is not viewed to completion enough times to a certain benchmark, then it will be canceled. Enough. And of course, they got completely steamrolled by the amazing ratings for Wednesday.
And they're mad about that too.
Stay mad. If you can't compete, you can't compete.
Yep.
And now they're also getting compared to other canceled shows like First Kill. Another is I'm Not Okay With This.
This joke for off air.
Another is The Wilds. There are just like a ton of these shows that have a selling point that it is LGBT representation. Now, regardless of whether the story is as compelling as it needs to be to gain an audience season to season, that's a totally different issue.
Yeah.
And I think this petition that they made on change.org, it has like 112K signatures at this point.
Not enough to get it renewed.
Signatures don't mean anything, but
literally there's nothing in the world less meaningful or impactful than getting a change.org petition with a lot of signatures.
It means nothing to Netflix that you signed a change.org petition.
It might actually do more good to get less signatures, because then they can make articles about how it got less signatures.
I mean, I guess it means a lot to the fandom internally, because Simon Barry said that if they get over 10 million tweets on the hashtag #SaveWarriorNun, then he's going to reward them by releasing some pages of script and I don't know, some other exclusive content for them that wasn't going to be released originally. But of course Netflix doesn't care about this. So here's what the petition said. This show was extremely important for representation, including POC, female-led cast, and LGBTQ. Nevertheless, Warrior Nun is a truly rare show that flawlessly blends interesting plot, action sequences, complex characters, and commentary on the blurred line between science and religion to create an incredible fantasy show. Now, if you think it has all of those merits, why did you first mention the representation tokens?
Yep.
If you think that it stands alone on its merits, why would it not continue its run on its own merits?
I just think that viewed to completion is a very profound way to look at it.
Viewed to completion.
They want to be viewed to completion.
Yeah.
Can't just watch episodes 1 through 6. You have to watch 7 and 8.
No?
Do you want to expand upon that?
No, I don't. Completion could mean something completely different.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Because it's about, look at me.
That's
it's
true.
Look at me.
That's true.
Because I need it.
They said it's hard not to compare to other tropes similar to WLW. I think that means women loving women romances. And no matter how much we love these shows,
it
will never be enough. I don't know why they think Netflix cares about their feelings.
Yeah.
It never has and it never will. Maybe they were fooled by the woke marketing that, we care about representing you and coddling you and catering to you.
This that's is
your fault
the point
if you fell for
that,
it.
I've made it before and I'll make it again, darn it, is that wokeness is not including things like this in your programming. Nobody has a problem with that. It's when you don't have substance or you lead with it because you're afraid that you don't have substance or that you're trying to automatically win an audience by immutable characteristics and not by the craft.
Anthony Williams, I'm going to aside quickly, says Continuum was okay to good, but Travelers had a much better story and characters. I mean, sorry.
He's like, hold on, I have to take this.
You should hit me up on Twitter someday. We'll argue about that. But for something like this, I think what's funny about it is always the marketing, right? Like, you win more fans by not marketing it this way, right? So if they had, if I had just clicked on it, right, and liked the show, I would be more likely to watch season 2. But then if I have to watch a bunch of woke marketing, and I as much as I hate that word, that is what that would be. Like, that actually sours me to the program.
Sure.
You know what I would say? Like, imagine it's 2001. It's 2001, and a trailer comes on, right? And there's Elijah Wood. There's Ian McKellen. There's Gollum. Yeah. And it says, from one of the greatest Christian writers of all time, one of the greatest Christian allegories ever made. People would be like, what? Like,
why does that matter?
Not even Tolkien would understand that angle to sell this story.
Exactly. He wouldn't do that. One of the greatest Catholic writers of our time who seamlessly put in, Christian messaging or with
special showings at the Vatican.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And some showings will be Christian only. And
exactly.
You would be like, what the hell? I, as a Christian, would be like, this is gross. This is awful.
The vibe I'm getting from this campaign for a renewal of Warrior Nun is one driven by resentment rather than by a genuine enthusiasm for the show.
Yeah.
Because even if the show does have the substance they say it has, all I know about it is it's some religious sect of nuns that fight demons, and some of them happen to be gay for each other, which I wouldn't want to watch.
Weird nun
definitely. I don't like the way that Hollywood treats nuns. But like, even if it has the
better title
merit on its plot and its characters that they claim it has, if that's not enough for the show to be profitable, why do you feel entitled to a corporation continuing on a loss so that you feel validated?
Look, I can respect putting your money where your mouth is to get it made, but the fact of the matter is, like, if you're gonna, most shows do go down season to season. After a couple of seasons, the ratings will start to go down, but it has to start so profitable that you can lose viewers and still remain.
It started in the middle of COVID, which is probably why it got renewed for a second season. People just didn't have as many options to watch, and they were stuck at home.
Now they're going outside and they're doing things again.
I bet that's why they made a second Enola Holmes, because the first Enola Holmes was released during COVID, and it's just what you watched because you were stuck in your house and had to.
They're like, what if we did Sherlock Holmes, but
you watch this and you better like it.
Yeah.
What if we did like Sherlock Holmes, but like not Sherlock Holmes?
Sherlock Holmes.
Am I right?
Yeah. All of these streaming platforms became so engorged with profit because of COVID, and then they laid off so many people, and they still didn't use that extra money to invest in good storytelling.
They did. They invested in sapphic storytelling, which somebody in the chat said, what the hell is sapphic storytelling? I said, tell me about it.
I wish I could reverse time and go back to the moment when I learned what the word sapphic meant and shield myself from that information.
Well, what's interesting about it to me is I don't think it's got a small audience. I think that they have a hard time reaching everyone. I watched a video talking about the problem with sapphic storytelling from somebody in the community, and it had like 400,000 views. So it's like, there's people out there to watch this stuff, but the question is like, so you've cut your audience down to a small percentage of people. theoretically, you could still get all of them if you got the entirety of the population. If you wanted to market just on wokeness, but you'd have to get like literally everyone. Every one of the 400,000 people who cared enough to look up what the problem is with sapphic storytelling in Hollywood would have to then have a Netflix subscription. We'd have to then watch Warrior Nun just to get kind of okay ratings for something that a more broadly sourced show would get very easily because it appeals to everyone. Mm-hmm. It's not rocket science to say that you shouldn't limit your marketing and scope to something that's part of a subgroup or a subculture.
Yeah, and I don't think that Wednesday, which of course massively outperformed it, is immune from propaganda either.
No,
I took note of every
season 2.
Yeah, it might very well be ruined in season 2 of Wednesday with the wokeness, but it wasn't immune in the first season either, and I took note of every single little like stupid line they added in about the patriarchy or mansplaining. Like I noticed those things.
I'm imagining Mary has like a little hangman that she draws.
Yeah, I actually
every time there's a wokeness
I
element
do like woke bingo.
Yeah,
while I'm watching a new
show. The woke
show.
hangman would have been very appropriate for the Wednesday show.
It's possible to enjoy a show despite elements like that being included. I believe that I am like very tolerant of those things. Actually,
I think me and you both both
I am with the intent. Yes, it's the manner with which it's delivered with anything. It's like God's not dead. I'll watch it and be like, okay, well, this is just like Christian wokeness. Like it's the same thing.
The fandom just doesn't realize how exactly evangelical they come across to outsiders.
That's really funny because we're gonna actually I'll save that point because we're gonna be talking about that next. But like,
you made a good point just a second ago. Shocking. No, I'm just kidding. About like it is not. No. Like. I love Brett. About like it is not a problem to niche market your product, like or whatever your content is, but it's about the scale at which you're doing it, right? Yeah. Like if you're going to do that, because shows like that have been around forever. There have been shows like this a long time ago.
The L Word was existed in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, or there was Xena, like you know what I mean, like which was not as direct. But it appealed to this same, like XenaCon is still a thing. I have a friend who goes to it all the time. And
XenaCon. Does Lucy Lawless go?
I don't know.
It'd be awesome.
But it's a lot of women it's a lot of WLW. Okay, it's primarily that, if not exclusively. But if you're operating on that like scale, you're going to be successful still, and your stuff is still allowed to exist. Like
and when that happens,
if you're good, it will grow.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, I won't pretend to be some kind of expert on the marketing for these things because I think conversely about a movie like Jennifer's Body, that because it was 2009 was marketed on Megan Fox being the the sexy like appeal to the male audience when really it would have appealed far more to the female audience just based on its plot. They failed with that marketing, yet would they have been any more successful with some like woke sapphic
at the time
niche audience at the time?
Juno did gangbusters and was not a typical movie.
That's not what you would consider sapphic storytelling.
No, but I'm saying, but it is. I'm speaking more from the idea that unless it's an action movie, a horror movie, a romantic comedy, or a straight drama, Hollywood doesn't. There are movies like Jennifer's Body that fall right into this realm of they don't know how to market them.
Oh, that's all of them though. Yeah. Like, they don't know how to market anything anymore because they are marketing to days past.
Yeah.
And like that's not. I'm not even going to get started.
Marketing to days past.
Yes.
Go on.
What does that mean?
What do you like? The same people that are in charge of marketing
are old.
Yes.
It's like Vince McMahon running WWE's old. Right.
They're not. Their attempt is always to sell to the largest possible audience, which makes sense, but that is not what you are actually doing, and therefore, when you make something to sell to everyone, you sell to no one.
Yeah.
Well, I only heard of Warrior Nun when people started complaining about it getting canceled, actually. So
I remember when it was brand new.
Thank you. Did you ever watch it when it was new?
That's awesome.
See, it's
so bad.
Man. It's more intense but shorter than the last one.
Are they still selling Surge? I thought they came back.
But it's in this crappy canned version.
Ew.
And okay, I talked to someone the other day. Yes, it is true. Canned soda is better than plastic bottled soda except for Surge. Otherwise, glass bottle or can.
Glass, yeah.
Far preferable. But Surge, the 16-ounce can, oddly enough, it's like in the era of energy drinks, why would you like neuter the soda? Why would you make it less than it used to be? Like, it was basically like drinking like a soda version of battery acid before. It was horrible for you.
But now we have Red Bull, which is the exact same.
Exactly.
We used to go to Chuck E. Cheese and just get hyped up on the Surge and just
be in the zone,
gambling. Yeah.
One of the comments, the first time that sound effect played, somebody goes, "There was a guy like giving it away outside my school." I'm like, you had like a Surge dealer, like giving away free samples, getting the kids.
You message your Surge plug.
That's funny
For Surge on the black market.
Let's go to Super Chats.
Okay. Nathan Koss said, "I can't wait for the soft American rainbow people to run into all the people from the Middle East who settled in London who will have choice words for them."
Oh my God, that reminds me of the worst part of Will Trent.
And we're back.
There was a line in Will Trent when they have to go to the Deep South, and of course, all of the white people are giving side eyes to the black characters because that's still the world we live in now. And there's a line where like Pulaski's like gonna go out of her hotel room, and there's like 5 guys who are like cartoonishly dressed like they're going to hunt, and he's like, "What?" Because he's like, "What's worse, white guys with guns or ghosts?" I was like, I'm done. I literally almost threw my remote at the TV. I'm sorry. Okay.
Nathan Dumbledore said they're turning Echo Base into an echo chamber. I don't know what that is. What is that?
Turning what into it?
Echo Base? I don't know. Short Bus Bully said, my son is 9 and loves Star Wars, watches Clone Wars every day and the movies at least once a month. That's cute.
That's good.
Patriot American, as it said, as a fan of Star Wars and amateur reader of Star Wars lore, Mary, I can say there is a big section of the population who still likes Star Wars. They just don't want politics injected into it. I mean, I'm saying that there are fans like you who have loved it for a longer time, but kids these days generally don't. Like,
yeah,
they do if their parents.
Clone Wars was the last successful edition.
Aren't the animated versions doing well right now?
I would say The Mandalorian's doing really well right now. What? That's really successful.
I mean, I haven't seen anybody care about like the trailer for season 3.
Yeah,
I could be my own echo chamber there. Maybe I'm wrong. But I mean, that's like anything not Filoni.
I have a lot of normie friends, that love it.
The Mandalorian.
Yes.
Okay.
Like watch it. It's appointment viewing with their family.
Yep.
Okay. Ertez 00 said, I went to anime, J-dramas, and K-dramas. Never cared for comics.
What was the? I watched a K-drama last year, To Hell. Or whatever it was.
From Hell?
From Hell? Was that what it was?
I'm sorry. I don't know what the... From Hell, the comic book jumped out.
Hellbound. Okay. Hellbound. Hellbound was really, really... It was like a K-drama sci-fi. It was good.
X said, if I find a 5-minute part, will you pull it up? Of what?
Of what? We'd have to know what you're talking about.
Isaac Martinez said George Lucas is going to have a field day.
With what?
I missed all of this context. Ertez.
I don't know if you've seen him lately. He doesn't look like he's doing much running.
Ertez 00 said, here is a safety crisis party.
Yes.
Thank you for the big super chat.
Yep.
The Last of My Kind said, Jar Jar actually had a longtime GF in Clone Wars. See,
grandfather?
This is the erasure of flamboyant straight men.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't straight men wear ascots? Caper2X said, but you watched Will Trent, Brett. Thanks.
I gave it a shot. Okay. Also, they're pointing out Echo Base was a Star Wars reference. Yeah. Look, I've seen the movies. I never cared for it. I didn't care for Star Wars or Star Trek. It's actually my biggest accomplishment working here is not caring about Star Wars, Star Trek, or Battlestar Galactica.
Or Game of Thrones.
I would rather watch Game of Thrones than the other ones.
Yeah.
But like none of them really appealed to me as far as space, any of the space operas or anything like that.
I've never seen any of them.
Like never watched Clone Wars, anything like I get it. Like there's a large audience for stuff like that. But we were not talking about the shows in particular here. Like I can rag on the sequel trilogy because I think that they're objectively badly made movies that rely heavily on nostalgia. But I that's irrespective of the fact that I just don't care much for the lore. It's just not for me.
Porco Rosso Forever said, I'm pretty sure all or most of the videos in PCC Greatest Hits were submitted already to the subreddit a while ago, not chosen for meme review. Only the Megan one was chosen, but it's all fantastic.
Okay.
We will be watching this later on, but we can't go through all 28 minutes here. X said, FYI, hostage parties need discussion questions. Why are we responsible for organizing our own hostage crisis?
I think maybe he's saying that for everyone else.
Yeah, everyone come up with your discussion questions for later. The Last of My Kind said, Jet Set Grind Radio made me appreciate blading.
Yeah, Jet Set Radio Future was a video. It's a video game.
Oh. Okay.
Creative Juice says, I purposely ignore some of the best American cinematic creations, so I remain in the dark when the other 98% of the earth discusses them. Brett and others. That was very clever, my friend. That was very clever.
B Mafia 716 said, if they want real warrior nuns, tell them to go look up Sisters of Battle from Games Workshop. They are the real girl bosses.
Also, I want to point out, like, that's why, like, we don't talk about Star Wars a lot, right? It's like I don't even talk a whole ton about Marvel because I read more DC growing up. Like, I talk about the stuff that I cared about and that I knew. That's the point of the show. The name of the show may be all-encompassing, but pop culture is not just one or two things. It's a lot of stuff.
Disney would like it to be those one or two things.
Yeah, I know, right?
So,
they would.
No.
Yeah.
Lazy Neo said, Mary, it was pretty nice of you to save the world that one time. We appreciate it.
Yes.
No problem. Caper2X said, I thought the problem was with the Catholic Church. What problem?
Are they talking about in relation to Warrior Nun?
Were we on Warrior Nun by then?
Yeah.
Yes, we were. Biddy Beasley said, swatting PDF files that are luring in kids with cool movies for nefarious purposes. What a radical proposal. I cannot condone. Love is love after all. I don't understand that at all. Sorry. X said the greatest hits video play 15 minutes. He gave you like a timestamp for the greatest hits video.
15 minutes.
Hopefully no copyright content there.
We'll do that tomorrow.
We did get a copyright claim on part of our meme review.
I want to point out again that what I've noticed with pop culture is that for supposedly like open-minded people, you're not allowed to have opinions about. You're not allowed to have like certain unapproved opinions about certain things, and you're not allowed to like or dislike certain things.
What was
like
yours?
The Last Jedi?
Like, well, I'm saying like me not, like you liking The Last Jedi or me just not caring about Star Wars or Star Trek. That is somehow sacrilege. It's like the people that don't like The Dark Knight. Like they have a right to their opinion, but people are like, oh my God, how dare you not like The Dark Knight? People have said that to me because I like Batman Begins better than The Dark Knight. Like, I don't give a crap if my opinion is unpopular. It doesn't matter. The whole point of this stuff is that there's literally gazillions of hours of entertainment. Pick the crap you like, watch the crap you like, and move on.
Yeah, it's like that loser from the Cut video where he's like, you can't just not like Marvel.
Can't just not like Marvel.
You can't not like it.
Yeah, it's just not that.
What?
What?
Who said that?
We had a cringe of the day video.
It was real?
On this like, yeah, it was on like a dating show where this is the first time he met this woman. And he was like, it was like fun fact about whatever his name was. He's a big fan of Marvel. And then he says, you can't just not like Marvel. And then he goes into an explanation about it. He's like, it's just like superheroes that go around like saving the world and like saving people. You can't just not like it.
Well, his biggest mistake was like he didn't sell it very well. Like he could have sold it better.
He was nervous because there was a pretty girl.
He could have sold it better to her.
Theoden of King of Broan said they are seeing how much bad media it takes to break our minds, and media criticism is the only form of entertainment. It's confirmed. Yeah. We live in MS. What is this?
I can't see the chat.
MST3K?
I can't see it.
I don't know what that is. I feel like I'm not registering any of these super chats
because
today.
I feel like I've been hitting the same drum this whole show, and the next story
allows
me to hit that same drum like twice as hard. Yeah.
You want to just get into it now?
Oh, no, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
All right. Well, James Gunn was asked to weigh in on Zachary Levi's recent anti-Pfizer tweet, as well as Ezra Miller's questionable mental health situation where he is either in recovery or not. It's being disputed on a PR level. What is he doing to actually recover from being a violent criminal and alleged child predator?
Recovery.
Yeah. Peter Safran has come to Ezra Miller's defense, said Ezra is completely committed to their recovery. We are fully supportive of that journey they are on right now.
Did Mel Gibson get a recovery? Was that how it was treated? That Mel Gibson needed recovery?
Mm-hmm. No,
I don't think so.
Well, actually, it's funny because Robert Downey Jr. keeps pleading for him. They're like, give the dude a break. It was 2 decades ago now.
Are they still
Mel
on
Gibson?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So here's what James Gunn had to say, tangentially related to Zachary Levi's anti-Pfizer take. He said, real simply, actors and filmmakers I work with are going to say things that I agree with and things that I don't agree with, and that's going to happen. I don't have a list of things that somebody should say because of what I think, and I can't be changing my plans all the time because an actor says something that I don't agree with. And by the same token, if somebody's doing something morally reprehensible, then that's a different story. We have to take all that stuff into account. It's a balance, it's a modern world, and it's a different place. That was a bunch of word salad that basically means I'm not going to change my DC slate based on Ezra Miller being a repeat violent criminal or based on Zachary Levi being possibly a vaccine skeptic.
They're the same thing in Hollywood.
Or based on Gal Gadot being pro-Israel. Whatever it is you choose.
Very finely worded response.
Yeah.
Sure.
I thought it was very sensible and saying listen, it sounded like he was okay, pat him on the head. I know you're upset, but this person said a thing, and you're comparing it to a person who did a lot of very bad things, and those aren't the same. I'm not going to change my plans, as he said, because this person said something we don't like. Now, if somebody does something morally reprehensible, as gingerly to a intellectual lightweight as he possibly could, called them a moron.
The person asking the question or Ezra Miller?
No, called the person asking the question.
Oh, yeah.
Saying
the question comes from a place of conflating having a non-approved opinion with being actually a violent,
I'm just saying,
unstable
calling
cult
it word
leader.
salad I thought it was very condescending in the best possible way. I wouldn't consider how can I call you a moron without calling you a moron?
I'd have to hear it out loud, I think.
And that, he even said may say things I disagree with because I don't feel like I live in a world where James Gunn is a big pharma advocate. I can't accept that.
Why not?
Because he is the opposite. I want him to remain the person he was in 2005.
You want him to be based.
Not even based. I don't consider old school liberals based, but they were anti-pharma. Yeah. They were against big how am I the anti-pharma person? The person who went to worked for my first boss out of college was Mike Pence. Okay, that's how am I the one who's I don't like these corporations? And they are whoa, please don't say something against Pfizer. He may have said anti-Pfizer comments.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Which could be interpreted as anti-vaccine. Parentheses.
Which he never said.
How is this a world?
His explanation for posting that he thinks Pfizer is a danger to society was about a settlement that they paid out about the misrepresentation in advertising of a drug called Bextra. It has nothing to do with the vaccine. And even if it did, in his private opinion, which he's not voiced, literally who cares?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Ezra Miller is the actual PR problem for DC right now for a movie that is coming out this year And he is the one getting treated with kid gloves, which I really resent.
I don't think he's even a PR problem because I don't think the media's talked about it enough for average
Well, because
people.
he's a they-them, non-binary indie soft boy, and he can't be criticized for that reason.
Normal people don't know that there's a problem there.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if you're looking into it, you know,
I think they're treating it like a PR problem because if normal people do know this, they will get upset. Like normal people will be like, "Whoa, that's a bridge too far for me," and they don't even want to touch on it. They don't even want to poke that bear because they are afraid of that, and they are hinging the future of their entire franchise on this movie changing things.
Yeah, because they're using that as the relaunch point for the franchise. But then they said they're welcome to him come back.
If this one fails. It could be a dominoes to saying we don't want that one, we don't want the other one.
If Ezra Miller is the only actor who is not going to be recast in the new DCU,
it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
He's never
absolutely
he's never
going
to be in
that
it again.
decision.
I don't think he'll ever.
You think they don't?
Oh yeah,
cast
he's
again?
Yeah,
they
said that the discussion is yet to be had, and they're ready to figure it out what the best path forward is.
Yep.
I don't think he'll ever play the Flash again. Now, if he's going to play something else years in the future, that could be the truth. I just think that is a way to say something without saying anything.
Yeah.
To say like, "Oh yeah, we haven't made any decisions yet." Like, okay.
But you made your decision about Gal Gadot. You made your decision about Henry Cavill. You made your decision about Jason Momoa, etc. Like.
Right,
they're hastily.
I know, but if there is no news, then there's nothing to write about. Like if they say, "Hey, that decision's made," headlines: Ezra Miller fired, blah 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 blah. Then people are like, "Oh, what did Ezra Miller do?" The people who have no idea.
So you just don't rehire.
You just do nothing because there's nothing to write.
Yeah.
There's something to report. There's nothing to
report. Well,
report.
there will be something to report once they reboot and they have to have another Flash.
Correct.
And
Or
that's theoretically farther down the line.
Or if you're James Gunn, you're saying like, I don't want anybody to know that at the end of the movie George Mackay is playing Barry Allen, which is the right move. But
I think you say Mackay Pfeiffer. Pfeiffer plays the Flash.
The 1917 guy.
I want Mackay Pfeiffer as the Flash now.
There was like reports that he was on set for reshoots.
Okay.
So
that would be interesting. Yeah, is that who you'd cast?
That's who I would go for.
That's who you'd cast. Who do you think they should cast for Batman? For Batman the Brave and the Bold, and who should they cast for Damian Wayne?
Okay. So because I thought they were going to go with a younger Batman until that. Now there's going to be like a 15-year-old Damian Wayne. Yeah. Then I think you can get a 15-year-old kid whose dad is Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay. You think Jake Gyllenhaal? He'll have to buff up.
I mean, have you seen him in Southpaw?
Yeah, you'll have to buff up. I think you go with somebody less known. See, this is why they keep getting in trouble because they keep hiring these well-known actors who have all these problems. I guess Jake Gyllenhaal doesn't have problems.
He wants this too.
But
he wants it.
Marvel is smart enough usually to just like for a lot of their characters they hire these no names that nobody's heard of and then they just keep them around. I guess Jonathan Majors is a bigger name now with Creed 3 coming out and stuff like that. But in general, it'd be funny if they went with Armie Hammer. Go Armie Hammer, I say. Go Armie Hammer. And
see, if you I think a very interesting Bruce Wayne is your guy,
Jim Caviezel.
No,
Jim Caviezel. All the way.
Reacher.
Oh, I forget his name.
Yeah, I can't remember his name right now. Or if you're going to go
Alan Ritchson.
Alan Ritchson.
Alan Ritchson.
It'd be very interesting. It'd be a very
dude,
different.
He's huge.
He's huge,
that dude would be an enormous. He's bigger than Henry Cavill.
Oh yeah.
Every time people bring up the next Batman or the next Superman, and someone brings up an idea for who it could be, they're like, not muscular enough, not buff enough.
Alan Ritchson's definitely buff enough.
They're supposed to work out and usually take steroids.
Zachary Bloom says Jeffrey Dean Morgan should have played Thomas Wayne. Didn't he play Thomas Wayne?
He did play Thomas Wayne
in Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, but he's saying he should have been the Batman
the Beyond the
Flashpoint,
Flashpoint version.
Yeah, which would have been cool.
That would have been very cool. Like the Flashpoint version is like where in the Flashpoint version, Bruce Wayne dies and Thomas Wayne lives, and his wife becomes the Joker.
Yeah. Which is absurd.
But but it's awesome. Yeah. That story was always awesome. So I don't know, but it is annoying, Mary, that we have to talk about creepy Ezra Miller, who they don't even they've done what the media does best. They just pretend it doesn't happen, and now the average person doesn't know about what happened when he was in, Germany, what happened when he was in Iceland, all of the choke slams.
Or Hawaii, like just terrorizing the entire island.
Literally, and that has to be held in the same vein. And what annoyed me about this is like when, I don't remember who it was talking about it, where they literally talk about how Zachary Levi, they're like, he's a bit evangelical. I'm like, we're at a point now.
He isn't.
We're at a point now where having any opinion on religion that's not awful.
He doesn't even believe in
that
God.
Says that religion isn't awful is being evangelical.
No, any position that's not religious people are subhuman is considered being at like a God's not dead level evangelical.
Yeah.
You know?
So
that subhuman trash thinks some people are worse than others. That's the opinion.
I'm thinking of, becoming non-binary so that I can do whatever I want without consequences and I'll be beyond reproach.
Yeah.
Stunning and brave.
Yeah, I think that would be very stunning and brave of me.
It's just, it doesn't interest me.
It's hard not to resent it.
What doesn't interest me is the fact that we're going to have to keep talking about this all the way up until the Shazam movie comes out. And when Ezra Miller comes out, no articles will be dedicated to this. They'll find a way to sidestep it. They'll make it about everything but Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
And theoretically, by then it won't matter because the marketing, like, will his image be rehabilitated enough that he can then go and do interviews?
Honestly,
again?
I think it comes down to something as simple as like they're just getting rid of the normal white dudes, right? Like Henry Cavill. Way too normal, way too white.
I don't know. I mean, they've still got
Zachary Levi, normal white dude.
John Cena's a normal white dude.
But he's invisible. A CCP agent, so he's an exception.
Fair enough. Does that mean he's allowed because he's
Robert Pattinson not a normal white
Robert
dude?
Pattinson's a pretty normal white dude.
He's by no means normal, but he looks normal.
He's still a straight.
You don't think he's normal?
There was all those stories about him having sexy time with Zoe Kravitz on set. That's very normal white dude behavior.
That's true.
Like it's like
I didn't see those stories.
What's more normal than like the guy like getting someone the stories were like that they were having sex on the Batmobile on set. Like whether any of that was true or not was never actually.
That sounds
proven.
like BS to me.
Yeah, but it's still very normal.
And he had COVID.
Yeah. It's like they were not 6 feet apart. No. They were much closer than 6 feet apart.
It's like the new Me Too.
Yep.
You like hooked up without taking proper COVID precautions.
Just like with Wednesday Addams and the doing the dance while being positive for COVID, like you were having sex on set. Well, positive during COVID time, that's a problem. Yeah. It's not a problem that you were doing the unsanitary things on property that other people were going to touch. It's that you were doing it during COVID.
Right.
That's the problem. So.
Well, time for Super Chats.
Do it.
Stephen Fletcher said there was too long between the first and second seasons of Warrior Nun and would require a commitment to rewatch the first to watch the second. I thought the same thing. Why wait until November 2022? When it originally came out, June 2020? That's a long time.
Realistically, the first season was filmed before COVID, and the second season would have had to take place during COVID restrictions, which would have made it harder to make.
Convincing Reality said, petitioning corporations to spend money creating idealistic versions of their demographic shows that these people have no belief in their own ability to provide a positive representation.
That's an interesting argument. Like, is the idea here that they feel so worried that their own views will be misunderstood or misconstrued that they need like a narrative-shaped version of it to be done by Hollywood?
But they're the ones that petition to make these trauma stories and then further complain that they're being made into one-dimensional characters where all that matters is their sexuality.
Yeah, they create their own enemies. It's sort of like how the people remember when they're going to stop putting gendered sections in Target and things like that.
I looked back at toy sections were going to be non-gendered too.
Right, but I remember I looked back and saw that there was a piece written in I think the New Yorker about like the way to move forward with like gender fairness was to split up the sections. And it's like, so your movement created the problem that you are now rallying against, as it always does. Like it always seems like whatever your solution is becomes a problem.
Same with award shows that were initially like they make a female category for a certain award to make it more equitable, and then now that's being reframed as excluding
another dragon
non-binary actors and actresses, whatever you want to call them.
It's the same with like fridging, fridging.
That was just feminist propaganda, anyways.
Like fridging is when you have is when a female character is just there to be motivation for, like, dies to be a motivation for a male character.
Why is that even a bad thing?
I mean, I can understand it to an extent. Like if you have
if it were every movie, that would be annoying.
It's an affirmation of the connection between the two people.
It's
annoying. It's purely a point of perspective that a jaded perspective creates an ideal like fridging, whereas a romanticized perspective creates the idea that it's a beautiful story.
It becomes the problem that you talk about, where you're like, these people have no flaws, there's nothing interesting about them because you were so afraid to make them weak or downtrodden or anything. When at first you wanted to represent them that way to show that they're in this position, but now you've created a cliche, and it's just this vicious circle of like trying to fix their own wrongs that they then project onto you for accepting in the first place.
Yep.
It's very
Bobcat
weird.
said Bert has more energy today. I guess Surge found more Surge to hand out.
I don't think we had. The funny thing is in Timcast season in Timcast season 1 there was Surge here.
Potatoes for Seamus said, Wesley, has Brett told you about the good words of Lauren Boebert?
Nobody did tell me the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Also, Wesley is the best content creator on the Cast Castle vlog. Can't wait for the next one.
He just knows I hate the term content creator, and he hits it every single day.
There. Yep.
Every day on Twitter, how's my favorite content creator?
Dumbledore, we're skipping you because we don't like your drama. Darius Harvey said Echo Base is a Star Wars reference. By the way, how does the party thing work? How do you activate it?
What happens is that down at the bottom, there's a crisis meter. Let's see, where's my hand? There it is.
You're
there
pointing.
it is. I'm pointing at it right there.
Very helpful.
Every time someone super chats, like Darius Harvey, like Dumbledore before him, like Potatoes for Seamus, it gets closer to $100, and when it gets to $100, the crisis meter goes off and it triggers what is called a crisis party, which is where my evil sound effects scare the crap out of everyone in the room, particularly Chris Burtman, because it's like right by his ear. He looks the most happy whenever it goes off.
Happy or startled?
I'm ready. I'm ready now.
He's ready for the next one.
Happy or nervously laughing?
Yes, nervously laughing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Darius Harvey said, OMG, you monster. LOL, you never cared about those shows.
I just look.
Meaning Warrior Nun.
I thought they were talking about Star Wars and Star Trek and stuff like. The funny thing is, I mentioned earlier, like the other weekend, I was considering using. When I was talking about the watch parties, I was like, maybe do like a Battlestar Galactica watch party, but it would be a lot harder to do TV shows because it would take forever to get through them. It's not something you could do once a month, but it would be like something where I could watch it through for the first time because I've only seen season 1 with other people, but it might be better to do movies. It would have to be movies to do something like that.
Okay.
That'd be fun.
Yep.
X said, you ought to get wrenches in the chat to help us communicate with you better. And then he gave us the timestamp for the PCC greatest hits. We got it.
Thank you.
He said it's clips from your show and subtitles, so we won't have copyright. Bobcat said, I still say y'all should find a good infiltration specialist and do a show talking about heists. Get that wine mom audience that love true crime.
That's
maybe at the end when we talk about Anna Delvey, we'll get those wine moms in the chat.
Is true crime like uniquely
that's a wine
female?
mom thing.
I like
thing?
true crime.
Like,
I love it.
You?
Yeah. Are you a wine mom for
I
that?
guess I am. I identify as a wine mom.
Because like for me, I love heist movies, but I don't really care about true crime.
I don't know. Financial crime, I think, is way more interesting than like just going into the most gruesome murders and like disappearances of children. I just don't want to learn about those types of things because they're depressing.
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
Yeah. X.
You'd like McMillions then.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah,
I got a weird head, okay?
X said, most objectionable part is a prayer from Bad App.
Why is that objectionable?
In the greatest hits.
Oh.
Sketch Therapy said, remember DC Comics Barry Allen leads to Wally West.
Yeah.
And Barry Allen is supposed to fade into the Speed Force.
Yeah, so who'd they cast for Wally West?
I mean,
no ideas.
Who do I think they will cast?
Yeah, they'll race swap him.
Yeah, it's going to be like a Justice Smith.
Yeah. They will not. He will not have blonde. No. Yeah. Yep.
Bobcat said, "Who wouldn't want to enjoy the company of an attractive person in the backseat of the Batmobile?"
That's a good question. Yeah. I think in the story they said it was on the hood of the Batmobile.
Okay.
I would love to have rumors like that.
Yeah.
You know,
especially with Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah.
Am
I right?
Big fan.
Joe Schmo 32 Electric Boogaloo said, "If you're looking for non-woke shows, check out Korean and Japanese shows, Alice in Borderland, The Kingdom, The Glory, My Name, all great." Okay. I've only heard of Alice in Borderland. Sketch Therapy said, "Do not give wrenches to randos, please."
Perfect.
We weren't planning on it.
All right. Let us move on, guys. All right. So now that we know that Zachary, Levi, and Ezra Miller are basically the same person now, this story is particularly scary to me because it really is a sign that we're going backwards. We're doing
Canadians are crazy.
Canadians are a little bit nuts.
They are off the deep end, like one of the most blue-pilled nations on the planet. Yep. Maybe the most. I had it between them and Australia. Who's more cucked?
Canada.
Canada, you think?
So the National Arts Center in Ottawa was going to do what are called race-controlled performances for a play called Is God Is. If race-controlled performances sounds strikingly similar to something else, it's because it is. It's basically segregated performances during Black History Month. Mm-hmm. This has since been canceled because of backlash. Shocking, I tell you.
Don't you think it's weird that they were calling it Blackout Night?
Yeah.
That it was a special invitation to Black attendees in a show with was an all-Black cast?
Yes.
But they said no one would be turned away. Like, if you're not Black, you wouldn't be explicitly turned away from attending the event, but they would have staff on site, specifically non-Black staff on site, to go up to you if you are not Black.
Yep.
And give you a talking to.
For what? They don't want money?
For intruding upon the space meant for Black attendees, I presume, and pressuring you to leave, but not forcing you to
I'm going to read it right here. So it says, Theater Pass Muriel welcomes everyone who self-identify as Black to attend this performance.
Good news for Rachel.
I self-identify as Black. There you go.
However, if someone self-identifies as a non-Black person and demands to enter the room, a member of our staff will be present to chat with this person. We try our best to have this labor land on a non-Black staff member, and we will have non-Black front of the house leadership or technical and production team members present in the lobby to help de-escalate such situations.
De-escalate?
Dude.
You're the one escalating it. You're going up to somebody for their race and telling them that they don't belong in a certain place.
As far as we know, water fountains are shared by all.
Oh.
I've said this before. I'll say it again. Racists should have to drink from a different water fountain than the rest of us.
So
and these
weird,
people,
dude.
they are
so
included
weird.
in that.
It's so weird.
You should have like segregated society for non-racists and racists.
78% of the money for this theater comes from the government. So
can you read the definition for overcorrection?
Yeah, right. So
they might need to hear it.
I guess the idea here is that it's okay now because back in the day it would have been that they would have done separate shows for both, but now this is like there's only the separate show for members of the Black community, therefore it's better.
Well, it said this method has already been used, started in 2019, and they've used it in other cities like Toronto, London, and Stratford.
Everybody's doing it.
And
I thought Stratford was Ontario, right? Or Stratford, Ontario?
I believe so,
yeah,
yes.
Okay.
So this has already happened. It was supposedly successful and got no pushback. But this time around, they decided to retract their decision because they were getting backlash. about being racist against white people, obviously.
I would like to know.
It's not only racist. I don't even think it's racist against white people. It's racist against black people.
Who are all the racists that demanded
dehumanizing to
all
everyone.
races be attending?
It's dehumanizing to everyone, and it's a sickening step backwards for our society.
Like looking at this, my first thought wouldn't be like, "Well, that's racist towards white people." It's like the idea that you can self-identify as black is so F-wording insulting.
Yeah.
To an entire race of people that it.
Yeah.
So this was the retraction. So Jonathan K says, update, the Canadian NAC now seems to have given up on its race-controlled February 17th event plan. New press release issued today indicates that a new policy by which all races are welcome at our shows. It's like we went back to the 2010s and in the 90s and the 80s. Holy crap, dude. Like,
this is like when Wakanda Forever was about to come out and you had like activist TikTokers saying that if you're white, you shouldn't go on the opening weekend because you're actively stealing a seat from the black people who wanted to see Wakanda Forever.
Yep.
As if it's some kind of zero-sum game.
Where
if you buy a ticket, you're actively taking one from somebody else.
And if you didn't go...
Then they would say, yes, you're not supporting a franchise that is representing black superheroes.
Well, it only had the lowest opening weekend of all time because white people wouldn't go see it.
Dude, you want to talk about things you're not allowed to have a bad opinion about.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And they even, I think, encouraged white attendees at that like Wakanda Forever opening weekend to stand in front of the door of their local movie theater and stop people from going in if they seemed suspicious.
Yeah.
Literally racially profiling white people as supposed mass shooters.
This sounds like
literally
something
Dark
white
Knight
TikTokers
or
said,
Joker
right?
2019 level fear-mongering.
This sounds like something white TikTokers said.
It was a black activist on TikTok that
this
we
is
were
a very
talking
white
about,
person
but-
thing to say, isn't it? It's a very white person thing to say. To be like, oh, you shouldn't go to this movie. That's like the most sly racist thing to do. Be like, I'm a activist. Don't go see this movie if you're not white or if you're not black. That is. That's like the most clever
in fact,
racism.
Start altercations with anyone going in the theater that you deem to be suspicious based on their race.
Yeah. That sounds like a white person thing to say too. Like a white liberal thing to say.
It's not.
Yeah. It's just disheartening.
It is.
It's just really like when I see a lot of comments very often of people saying like, what the hell is going on in America? Mm-hmm. Like that's a reasonable question to ask. And granted, this isn't America, but it's North America, right? Like what the hell is going on right now?
Cultural decay.
That we're in such a place. Is it that we as a society have it so good that we're making up our own problems?
I think we're propping up our own problems, which are celebrities, and paying them to make everything worse.
The problems make so much money. That's the problem.
I've heard the hypothesis that if America had a thriving theater culture like maybe the UK does, then celebrities, or would-be celebrities, would have a place to be ghettoized after being the annoying theater kids that no one liked. So if you're like moderately talented and somewhat attractive, but also highly narcissistic and status obsessed, you can just be like placed in the theater world and not bother the rest of us, especially on Twitter.
They also,
but like, I don't even know if that would solve the problem because theater has been fully corrupted as well.
What is the opposite
by
of
these
stigma?
people.
What's the opposite of stigma?
Tolerance.
Glamorize. Like
romanticization.
If we had a thriving theater culture like they do in the UK, maybe the hunger for celebrity would be much more reduced, and it would, like you would have that outlet.
I know that the UK has a different feeling towards celebrities and like fandom. They're not as hysteric in the presence of actors.
I remember Daniel Radcliffe said in an interview one time that he's very glad that he was a British star because he was like, I got to be normal. He's like, people weren't like, oh my God, you're Harry Potter. He was like, oh, hi, Daniel Radcliffe. Like, hey, make sure you study,
And you must notice when like traveling between these countries, they're different like celebrity culture.
That's what he said. It's like, I came here for my first interview and they treated me like I was royalty.
Yeah, whereas the UK also has
royalty, which is their celebrity, But it's always the same few people, and most of them don't actually like them, which is
Since 2016, the National Arts Center has received $235 million in taxpayer money. Also, the head of the committee said that the racially controlled performances were a step forward in diversity and inclusion, which is just when words mean nothing anymore.
That's so Canadian.
It's so...
Just can't erase the images of Justin Trudeau and blackface from my mind right now.
Words literally mean nothing anymore. Because up is down, left is right, diverse, segregation is inclusion, and none of it matters anymore. Because we live in a society where these ideas are not allowed to be. We live in a society where we are not allowed to challenge these concepts. And if you do, I refuse to be labeled far right for thinking this is a bad idea. Seriously, piss off. If you consider challenging the idea of racially segregated performances at a show, because it's not racism when we do it, isn't like a ridiculous concept. That's insulting to me, it's insulting to you, and it's insulting to all the progress that was made by generations before us to make our society what it was when we peaked seemingly in the 90s. It's disgusting.
Weird, I don't know what the word is, to where it's a one-way street, what a racism is. But it's not insulting to. Well, that's insulting to these people, but it's not insulting. It's insulting to people.
This is
all people.
Yeah, but this is being perpetrated by such a small and extremely loud minority of people in the theater world, in the art world, that I'll say it, they are compensating for the deficiencies in their personality that make them socially repulsive. I think if you are someone who's experienced being repeatedly ostracized or silenced or belittled or microaggressed against, then maybe look into the possible explanation that you just are kind of a know-it-all, or people just are rubbed the wrong way by you for some reason.
Maybe it's a you problem.
Maybe it's a you problem, and this is why I think bullying is a good thing. And theater kids traditionally have been the victims of bullying, and such social contagions get hopefully sifted out from the wheat. Wheat gets separated from the chaff. This is what happens unless you go out of your way to stifle that process. I mean, society is very good at sifting itself out.
I just don't know. I know the argument gets made a lot that you can't make the comparison back to why is it that to Hollywood, to the theater nerds, and to all these people, there's only two races? What about a Hispanic only?
Know that if a non-black person of color walked into one of these performances, they would not be stopped. Only a white attendee would be stopped and talked to.
But there's more than two cultures in these countries, right? What about Hispanic heritage? What about Asian heritage? What about all of these other places? Why do we only care about black and white here? Is it because slavery is the unique original sin that they get to throw back in our faces? Therefore, it's easier to bludgeon people than it is with guilt over black history than it is over Hispanic history or Asian history.
I mean, in Canada, I don't even know, how they talk about it without the context of a civil war like ours, you know? How is even the conversation about reparations is ramping up again. And I'm just thinking, was the Civil War not reparation enough? We gave bloodshed over this.
Well, they never talk about all the people that gave their lives for it.
But that's besides the point.
The point is, this stuff is going on, and it's not just here. It's in colleges. They do racially segregated graduations. Yep. They have racially segregated training seminars for schools and for government staff meetings for people who work for government offices. We are going backwards, and it's we're the only ones driving towards a cliff saying, hey, there's a freaking cliff there. Maybe we should hit the brakes. And everyone else is in their cars going, what are you talking? What? It's almost like this is the even worse thing earlier about what we were talking about with Disney. right? Like, you don't realize this stuff is happening at Star Wars Celebration. You don't realize this stuff is happening on Disney programming, and you don't know this stuff is happening in theaters because it's not important to you, but it will expand outwards. It will not just be in theaters. It will not just be in government buildings. Eventually, Starbucks will have their own, will have blackout coffee day where you can only get black coffee and where you have to look a certain way to get coffee because they don't want people who look a certain way to have to deal with the white people who look a certain way while drinking their coffee, all in the name of what?
Do you remember in summer of 2020 when you were criticized for buying coffee from Starbucks instead of a black-owned coffee shop?
Yeah.
Like, celebrities actually did performatively support black-owned businesses, like Ariana Grande going around with like a Starbucks-like cup, but with a different brand on it, so that people would know she wasn't supporting Starbucks. Like, she would buy an iced coffee from a black-owned business so that people would repost pictures of her from the paparazzi supporting a black-owned business. Like, and we're the bad people when we say, like, I don't care what your race is. If you sell a good product, I'll buy your product.
There was Adrienne Curry posted something the other day where she's like, as soon as I see female-owned business, I just don't buy from there because if you have to advertise,
if you're advertising that, then
with your immutable characteristics, you're not selling a superior product.
Yeah,
she's
exactly.
so cool.
Wokeness defined.
Yeah.
So it's just
advertising your. I'm
over this stuff, dude. Like this was a particularly ridiculous example to me, but it's like it's not going anywhere.
And
like,
as if from the pitch about this play, it's like as if anyone was clamoring to get into these shows. Yeah,
aren't
anyway.
they?
It's so lame.
Aren't you selling the director short on the opportunity to reach more people by doing this? Like you only get so many days of the performance, right? So you're limiting the performance to one day where you could have more people there.
They're gonna start like busing homeless people to the theater so that they'll fill up the seats when white people aren't allowed in.
I don't know, man. It's just
yikes all around.
Big yikes, as the kids would say.
Yeah. We've got some super chats. Yep. Bobcat said, Mary, look into the burglary of the FBI office in Media, PA.
Is there a town called Media, PA?
I didn't know that. It's the best true crime story ever. Cool. The Last of My Kind said, save the Gingers. Wally West, the fastest Flash.
Yeah, they're not going to. They're not going to.
Too late for
Ginger
that.
side.
Yeah. It's too late for happening.
that. They already race swapped him in the Flash TV show.
They already race swapped them in the movie. Yes. Not him, but the family. So how would you undo that?
Also, somebody else pointed out.
Now that you've done it, you can't go back.
I hadn't even thought of this either, but because it's been so long since I've watched the Flash TV show, but it really is where Barry Allen in the TV show grows up with Iris West as a sister and marries her. Because they're not
the idea was that he liked her even before.
He always loved her from the moment he went to live with their family.
Before that, he liked her before that.
But I'm saying, then they spent their whole childhood together, and he always loved her. And they eventually get married, even though the fact that they basically were raised in the same household. Totally normal.
I don't know. That's Wuthering Heights stuff.
Jimbo said, Brett,
Justice for redheads, by the way.
Sure. What would you think of like a street level Batman set in the 1930s instead of everything big stakes modern day? I'd be interested in more cape stuff set in different times. That is compelling.
They have a hard time doing period pieces. Gotham by Gaslight would be a cool story for them to try and implement. I would prefer they stop doing all of the I don't care about Batman taking on superpowered villains. I understand that they prove Bruce Wayne and Batman's prowess as being both the world's greatest detective and the smartest, he's like the smartest dude and all this stuff. And he's always very prepared. And that's how he can beat Superman, right? By being ultra prepared, even though that's not really true in the comics. Not entirely.
Also visually boring.
But I would rather watch him take on street level criminals. I would rather watch him in Deathstroke than him taking on any of the supervillains that they have him taking on these days. I don't want to see him against Darkseid. I don't.
Sketch Therapy said, I want Woman King to pay me reparations for selling us.
Bounding into comics is right. Gotham by Gaslight's animation did suck, but I still thought it was a halfway interesting story.
All right. And for the end of the show, we've got some funny news, given that Bad Baby has already spoken at Oxford Union. At the time when we talked about Bad Baby, I thought it's really unfortunate that they only want to invite her so she can talk about OnlyFans.
Now we get to talk about crime.
You know, instead of being on the internet from a young age. Like, I'm sure she would have interesting things to say on that, right?
Yep.
Now they have invited Anna Delvey for a speaking appearance at Harvard. And I didn't know this either, but they recently had Kim Kardashian there to speak to Harvard Business School.
That makes sense. You can be hot and a businesswoman. And it's not just because I'm a Kim Kardashian stan.
Well, we know you are.
Yes.
So it's unknown so far what Anna Delvey's speaking appearance will be focused on, but she's already given students material for writing their theses at undergraduate schools. She also, I think, taught a class for Columbia University on reporting. I didn't know that either. Yeah. She's signed a reality show TV deal where I think it's called Dinner with Delvey. Something
so she's
like that.
She's coming out of this really well.
She has capitalized on this really well because she was smart enough to get away with what she did for so long, right? Her ability to swindle people. Okay, yeah, the show is called Delvey's Dinner Club. I'm going to watch it because I like reality TV and financial crime. So that's my niche. I'm sold on it. She's still under house arrest. So she's going to be doing this remotely, I suppose. Yeah. Unless it's possible for her to leave the house with a parole officer.
Yeah, she might get a travel voucher or something like
that. She recently had a birthday party at her apartment in New York where people had to sign NDAs and hand out their social security number to get admitted into the apartment.
Okay.
Doesn't seem smart to me, but what do I know?
Not sussy at all.
Not at all.
I love that she spoke to the Columbia University students, by the way, while in an ICE detention facility, waiting to get deported. I still don't know the status on that, if she is going to get deported back.
Frauds in cages.
Back to either Russia or Germany.
I was like, what?
Both.
But overall, no hate to Anna Delvey, but academia is just in the slums.
Yeah, dude.
It's just
bad. It's because they have to justify their ridiculous price tags with these niche classes. Sure, you're paying $80K a year, but don't you want to take a class on Taylor Swift
or Beyonce or Harry Styles?
And people sign up for it because they think it's novel, and they're like, I'm in college and I'm gonna get my degree, but I'm gonna learn about cool stuff that I love in the world.
And there are niche things that I think are cool to learn about, in high school, for instance, I went to a unique school. It was religious, so we had niche elective classes. I learned about angelology and demonology one semester, but that's something you do for fun because you can. It's low stakes. You're in high school. You're not doing things that have repercussions down the line when you need to pay back your student loan debt. That's
People's
the part that sucks, obsession
right?
with Hollywood has also gone so far that they're earning degrees writing about Beyonce, the queering of Beyonce or the queering of Stranger Things. I'm sure there are people writing theses on these subjects and then getting degrees with them and then getting into positions of power over people like us.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is extremely scary for the future. And it's not tenable.
And for jobs, and then getting mad when they can't pay back their student loans.
These people who work at nonprofits or they have these email jobs, fake jobs, don't understand how insecure of a position we're in right now as a society. They don't understand that we're in a precarious state right now where everything could fall apart really freaking quickly. And I think maybe I'm looking too deeply into this, but I think that ousting of competent white dudes from important jobs in like city planning and like municipal planning or air traffic controllers or like what have you, it's going to cause millions of deaths
eventually.
Like it's going to be like they are going to be the ones responsible for the death toll. These liberal arts nerds.
But it's just like those degrees would help them if they wanted to do something in that field. But like they're going into jobs that have nothing to do with it, right? Like I guess you could make the argument maybe that like it helps them start side projects. Like the combination of their liberal arts degree and writing stories about Beyonce means that they could do effective social media where they talk about it. And there are plenty of content creators that do that. But you don't need to pay money to do that. Like if anything, you're interested in the subject matter, you can learn about that in your free time. But that's because I'm also of the opinion that there should be no generals in college. I think you should go straight to accredited classes for your degree, and I don't think you should be taking any generals. I think high school should be for generals.
I don't know the solution, but part of it has got to be getting rid of these stupid celebrity-focused classes.
I just think maybe generals.
A speaking appearance for Anna Delvey or for Kim Kardashian or Bad Baby, you can get away with that, but you can't tell me that doesn't take away from the prestige of academia overall.
Like eventually they've withered away their credibility so far.
The novelty is wearing off like real quick.
I don't think that they should be taking electives.
Every day I'm thankful that I have dropped out of college. Like I'm just not going to go back.
But it's do you guys think that college is unless you're becoming a lawyer or a doctor or something that requires special accreditation like that you like college seems like kind of a wash these days?
Yes, 100%. I got my bachelor's degree in English. I will stand on this hill right now. My dad was a boomer and he forced me to go to college. I love my dad, but I'm just saying like the boomer generation.
It's a generational difference.
It's a generational difference. They said you have to go to college and you'll get a career. They didn't tell you, oh, by the way, you have to know the right people. It doesn't matter if you actually know what you're talking about.
Yep.
Okay?
Oh, well, it's still the most, when we talk about propaganda in media, it's absolutely what every television show pushes on the characters.
Yes.
Is like, go to college and you'll get a good job. I'm like, that hasn't been true for like 2 decades.
Yeah. Okay. Like the moment that I realized that college was a scam, or at least my degree rather, was a scam, and like liberal arts in general, we had a term project and one of my classmates turned in a project that, I'm not kidding you, was female genitalia.
Oh, great.
Like a construction piece that she made out of paper mache or something.
Yeah.
And it was just like
paper mache vagina.
I got like a C on mine. I wrote a long paper. The teacher didn't like the argument that I made. Argument was fine.
Dane has a similar story.
Dane has a very similar story where
ridiculous.
He didn't love Beyonce enough. Oddly enough, he didn't love Beyonce. Was that what it was? It was
he
Beyonce.
said that his essay was in support of like all of these feminist ideals, yet his professor felt he didn't truly believe it.
Yeah.
You have to take your professor's opinion. And I hate that.
Yeah.
That's so stupid. I'm sorry.
No, I think it's a fair discussion to have. Like, look, every few years we have this same argument about whether we need student loan debt forgiveness. And no, we do not. Like,
if we forgive the student debt, but we leave it to the schools to pay it back, then the bubble will
These
burst.
Loans should not be subsidized anyway.
I'm an idealist.
We're getting off the.
Guarantee you that the girl who turned in the crotch as a project took out a student loan.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, maybe she would not have to do that if she just listened to Anna Delvey talk about how to scam people.
I mean, look, like poor people shouldn't be allowed at these schools. It's how it always was in the past.
Yeah.
It's just for rich people.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
It was who you knew the whole time.
I'm saying, like the one of the biggest problems is that
only rich elites should be going to higher level education. Like that's how it always was, and that's why it wasn't like this.
What's annoying is that you can go into debt.
They were paying for it.
You can go into debt to get a worthless degree, but you cannot go into debt to start a business because they will not give you the business loan. They'll give you the student loan because it's government backed, which it should not be, but you will not be allowed to even try to start a business because we do not want you going to college with a plan so that you can come out financially independent. We want you to go to college so you can listen to Anna Delvey talk, say, "Oh my God, wasn't that so cool? I went to college and I took this cool course where I learned from the girl from inventing Anna."
And Taylor Swift gave us our graduation commencement speech.
And 5 years later, they owe however many hundreds of thousands of dollars and they have no way of paying it back because their email jobs have been removed from Google. And now we're back in nobody, and everyone's in debt, and nobody can afford houses. And then we've got a bunch of kids that buy Star Wars and Marvel toys because they can't start families because they can't own homes. It's all connected. Mm-hmm. It's all connected.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. No. Like it's part of a much larger problem.
Yeah.
A problem it's another industrial complex. It's a education industrial complex. They don't want you to go to college to be smart. They want you to go to college so that you can produce the things they want you to produce. It's the same. Luke says it all the time that the American public school system was designed off of the prison system.
Smart enough to do the job, not smart enough to ask questions.
Correct. What I'm saying, by the way, is not that there should be a caste system. Yeah. Someone's asked that. What I'm saying is that higher education traditionally was a leisure activity that only rich elites engaged in, and we were all just fine.
We are very close to another crisis party.
All right, well, I'm going to read these couple of super chats we have. 1,000 Foot Deep End said, I saw a commercial. Could you go to the super chat screen?
Yes, I can.
I need to be able to edit this later to the chapters. 1,000 Foot Deep End said, I saw a commercial for a woman-owned business about how you shouldn't market as woman-owned, but by doing so, that's exactly what they're doing.
LOL. That's actually really, really... See, what would be a clever... How about this? What would be a clever way that you could advertise something like that wouldn't feel like something like that? Is that possible? Do you understand kind of like what I was saying earlier with like how Will Smith could make it novel while still doing the same cheesy thing? Like how do you kind of crack the code of advertising like that? Because like when I open Netflix or I open any of these things, it says elevate black voices, elevate women's voices. I'm like, why would I click on something like, and half the time a lot of those stories end up being good. It's just like that's not the selling point. Like there's a lot of shows that I love that are made by women or made by, I love Power. Power is one of my favorite shows of all time, but I don't go look for it under the like Black History Month tab. No. I just look for it because it rules. I don't need it to be advertised to me based on immutable characteristics of its creator. So what is a creative way that they could do this? If we're trying to help these people, these Hollywood elites market this crap, how can we help them better market it?
Why would we want to help them?
I'm just asking.
Yeah. I don't think the Hollywood, if it's businesses, the way you do it is through your products.
Yeah.
Like, how many times has your mom been like, a woman made that,
right? Yeah.
Or a woman marketed this, or this is an idea for that. You just do the idea, and you will attract the customer who wants to go to that thing, to participate in this thing.
I'm just trying to think of it from
good thing
from their perspective. How could they use it in a more effective manner?
You can't because it's inauthentic.
Can't be done.
Make the good thing, and then it'll advertise itself.
Caper2X said, good show, Brett. I hope to see your Will Trent Chapter 5 review. Bye, Mary. Be good. Bye, PCC guests. You survived. Count yourselves lucky.
Let me double check to make sure I had no more notes on I have to double check to make sure I had no more notes on Will Trent because I don't want it getting off easy.
I don't know why they were so adamant about wanting you to watch it anyway.
Oh, yes. Okay. There's the worst blocked scene. Okay. So in episode 2, Will Trent, it's either episode 2 or 4. Will Trent is face to face with a woman who's got a gun on him, right? So he's got his weapon on her. She's got his weapon on him. They're facing each other, right? And Pulaski comes up behind the girl and tases her, and sympathetic fire goes off right next to his head. Why would you fire a taser into the back of somebody who's got a gun pointed at your partner? That's insane. Like, they literally show the bullet show next to him.
Stupid.
Like, she had no, like, concern for the fact that, or, like, this girl, like, she didn't have good trigger discipline. Her gun, her finger was on the trigger of the weapon, and she just fires the taser, and he doesn't go, what the hell did you... He doesn't acknowledge it as a stupid thing to do.
Well,
he, like, thanks
Hollywood
her.
doesn't think about how guns actually work.
A lot of times they do better than that. Like, these days, the television is a lot better now with their firearms. I mean, there's still a lot of people, like, with their finger on the trigger, like, too early. Or, like, the worst is, like, they never have good, like did you see the way that Nick Offerman was holding the gun in The Last of Us? It was horrible. Like, he was doing the ball in the cup thing at the bottom.
Yeah.
Like, it was horrible. And that was not, like, when I saw that, I'm like, it would have made sense if he goes, what did you do that for? Like, all they had to do was, like, make it a bit. Like, what did you do that for? Like, you could have killed me. Then it's like, ha, ha, ha. I mean, it's still weird that that's like something to ha, ha, ha about. But it's just like, it was just poorly written. Was there anything else? Oh, yeah, the McLaughlin guy cheats on his wife because he's white, because he's morally deficient. So, yes. It's awful. If you want an episode 5 review, you're going to have to I'm going to need to I can't, I'm sober. I can't do it. I can't.
So you're not going to view to completion?
It's actually coming out weekly. So it's because it's Hulu. It comes out. It's only up through episode 8. So so he says we call that the Alex special. yeah. It was they were doing their own Baldwin impression there. All right, guys. Chris, thank you so much, my friend, for coming today.
Thank you.
Let everyone know where they can find you.
You can find me on timcast.com. Click the read tab. You can read all of our articles. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at manofbert. I'm almost at 1,000 followers on Twitter, and it's kind of mind-blowing because I'm just some random guy that posts.
That's awesome.
So kind of cool.
It's the best kind of guy.
Yeah, best kind of guy.
One of the best Twitter accounts at Timcast Media.
Easily the best Twitter account at Timcast Media.
Thank you, guys.
Blue check status as well.
Thank you very much. I've been Wesley Roth. I will continue to be. Watch out for the next Gas Castle. Very excited about it. You can find me on Twitter at Wesley Roth, and you can find me on Instagram at WARoth00.
And Mary, there's one more super chat there.
Oh, okay.
Now we're annoyingly
Deep
close
End
to a
said,
crisis party.
I'm becoming convinced Caper 2X only wanted Brett to watch this show to get a Brett rant.
Well, you got the Brett rant. Look, the funny thing is, I went into it, and the first 2 episodes were just kind of mediocre. Right? To the point where it was the biggest crime is that it's boring. I turned it off halfway through. I'm like, if you can't keep my attention, if you can't get me interested in the first episode, that's on you. It got worse the longer it went. So there's what, Mary, go ahead.
There's no more super
There's
chats.
no more super chats.
Yes. Okay. So you can find pictures of me on Instagram at Mary Archived. You can also send me hate on Twitter at Mary Archived, or send bot accounts to go raise my follower count on Twitter. That's also Mary Archived. Find me on Parler.
if you use that.
If you care about Parler anymore, you can find me on Gab if you try really hard. Yeah.
No MySpace?
No MySpace.
Friendster?
Wow. It's kind of
really?
before my time.
Oh, come on.
Fun fact, I met my first girlfriend on MySpace.
Dude, same.
Yeah.
Same.
And you dated online?
No, we met in person.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, as one wants to do when you're very, very stupid and young, and it could be anyone that you're dating.
You met up?
Yeah.
As strangers?
Well, I mean, you could see
That's so dangerous.
Yeah. Right?
Oh yeah, they had pictures, so it had to be them.
We never said this was safe.
We used to
be a proper country.
It was a different time, and I don't regret
parents it. Parents warned their kids about the dangers of the internet.
No, this was right in that time. Now they don't warn your kids about the dangers of the internet. Right then they're like, what? Yeah. You at that time it was the cliche was hey, you're probably talking to a dude in Minnesota. Yeah. That was actually the thing that they would say.
And it was Brett.
Yeah, right. So those were good times.
Someone in the chat said Walking Dead over The Last of Us, and I literally couldn't agree more. Especially on the front of just wanting to see the zombie action.
Yeah.
It's just blood and gore every episode, especially the first few seasons before it went to shit. I was just rewatching the pilot and I was thinking
that pilot is incredible.
There are these moments that it was in 2010. There are these moments that just would never ever in a million years
be made
today. There was this one part where this was early on and they don't know how to effectively kill the zombies yet, but they're killing one and it takes 4 different guys in their small encampment to beat it with baseball bats while there are 2 women watching them do it, and they're they would never show something like that today. Never.
I watch old stuff where women just let men be men, and I'm yes!
And then yes! But if they showed that scene today, all of the men wouldn't be able to subdue it.
The women would have to come in.
And then some girl boss would come along and be out of the way, boys. Yeah. I'm going to kill it for you. Dude. They would never show something like that. And you know how quickly your stupid gender ideologies would go out the window in a situation situation of that stakes.
Dude, I'm sorry. When we just the other day, we were talking about that scene in The Last of Us, and I'm sorry, I don't care if it's accurate to the game. The scene where Marlene, Tess, Joel, and Ellie, and the other Firefly chick are all in the room. I'm like, it is the apocalypse. It is not 4 women and 1 dude. It's not. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if people think that it's because they have to relate to the girl. Bullshit. It doesn't matter. It would not matter. Right. That is not the way the world would work in the apocalypse. There is a reason why it's literally a bullshit detector. So you can watch stuff that's old like this, right? And you don't know why it worked, but it does.
I mean, now I know because I've been made chronically aware.
Yes.
There we go.
Thank you.
Like, you watch stuff like this. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now this sound is biting you in the ass when you need to make a point.
You watch stuff like this back in the day, and it's the little things like the dude, like they have to make the little changes, right? The girl's like, I'll fix the car because the dude's an ineffectual loser. The girl's like, the guy, he's not going to go check the door. The woman's going to go check to find the creaking down the hall. It's these little things that it's take that, you incels, girl power. And that's fine for your ideology, but it breaks immersion in these shows. Nobody's even saying that the average dude would do stuff like this. They're saying that in an apocalypse, in happenstance, where situations where you're forced to evolve into the situation that society has set for you, or in this case, the breakdown in society, people will revert back to their roles. And it is not bigotry, sexism, racism, or anything to acknowledge that that's the way it would be. It's actually doing your story well. You do a service to your story to be accurate to the way the world would look because it allows the audience to buy into it. They don't do that anymore. Mm-hmm. No,
I agree 100%.
There are very simple things that you can do to make a show good, and they just won't.
Yeah. Even Walking Dead, what I love Carol, but that was an earned character.
Right.
Yeah,
Carol was an earned character.
Yeah, you saw
she didn't just start off being a badass.
No.
She had Daryl.
She was a meek, battered wife.
Yeah.
It made sense. Her character arc.
The whole thing was excellently handled.
I mean, even when they showed Shane at the beginning, like defending her from. What was his name? Her husband. Ed?
Yeah.
Defending her from Ed, hitting her.
Yeah.
You see that Shane is actually doing that because he feels ineffectual and emasculated and is trying to take control and feel like he's governing the encampment ever since Rick came back.
It's so easy to fix this stuff.
Tell you something, Rick.
It's so easy to fix this stuff. And there's a ton of these shows. Did anybody ever see Jericho?
Oh, I love Jericho.
With Skeet Ulrich.
Yeah.
Like he's not a perfect person. He's a failure kind of at the start of that show. He grows into the role, and it's actually funny because he becomes a hero.
Yeah. We talked about that show before because it was that time where like Democrats were embracing the Gadsden flag.
Yeah.
The end of the show ends with like all these like very obviously Democrat people
15
like
years
waving.
old at least.
Yeah, it was like 2005.
2006 it came
somewhere
out.
in there.
Yeah.
And they're waving the Gadsden flag.
Wow.
It's like, whoa. This is ABC, right?
It was one of those two. It's like, but there's a bunch of shows from that era. Under the Dome was ridiculous. In fact, that one was actually really, really bad. But there was Jericho. There was Revolution. I loved Revolution too, and even that has a strong independent woman that don't need no man. But it still had Billy Burke, Tracy Spiridakos or whatever her name is great in that show. But I think part of it is the sci-fi element that came in later, where there was a way to in sci-fi. There is a way to, kind of like with the show Dark Angel, where you can use the story to explain away the fact that it wouldn't be like that in the real world. So she's a genetically altered mutant. She doesn't need to follow the rules of society, right? She can beat up 50 dudes at once. But somehow that element of it got lost, where it just became, by the power of feminism, I too, at 5'0", weighing 95 pounds, can beat up 6 Navy SEALs.
Rings of power.
Yeah, well, even that's in the fantasy world, right? So,
but it's
the point is like they don't realize that the story has to make sense. Feminism is not a story, and it's so easy to fix these things. No,
kind of is.
No, all right. Mary, we got some super chats there.
We did. Let me look here. Caper2X said Leroy Jenkins, DC boy. Vinny Beasley said, guest guy, I don't know your name. Our names are literally on the screen.
Not during Crisis. Not during Super Chats.
Oh, I thought they were.
In the main screen they are.
What did you like about TLJ?
Ooh, he wants to know what you liked about The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi.
I don't have time for this.
He's explained it in the past.
I do not have to defend the fact that I liked the movie.
Give us a one-sentence explanation of like why you liked it. Not a justification, but an explanation.
I think, okay, if you started in the wrong direction, which is what happened with The Force Awakens, which there was no way that any of them were going to be great. This is the only one that I found interesting and well made. Like, it didn't look like turds. The other ones looked like turds. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end. There are huge elements in it I hate, so I agree with you there. But as a movie, it's the only one for me that worked. The others were just things happening in a random order.
I mean, that's a big problem with The Force Awakens, right? It's just a shot-for-shot remake of...
Yeah, but it's not even. It's just this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and Star Wars thing, and then the
music swells. Emotions, please. Yeah. Emotions. Don't you hear the swelling music?
Yeah, don't think too hard about it.
They did that in the Last of Us episode where like even I got emotionally manipulated by the swelling music, by the romantic music.
You were feeling it? Because I was like just so aware
when
of what they
the
were
more
trying
that
to
I
pull
watched
off.
it, I realized that as the episode went on, I'm like, okay, the music is too much here. You could be going more subtle with this.
Yeah.
And if I sound annoyed, it's not with you other than, like, you just called me person, but no, my name's on the screen. But, yeah, just get it a lot, especially here. Not from you guys, but, The Last Jedi.
It's okay.
It's fine.
It's okay,
It's
Wesley.
a fine movie.
Breathe. Yeah. Bobcat said, Crisis Party, thank you.
But to your point, this is what I mean, right? I'm saying there's things you're not allowed to disagree. Like in pop culture, in cinema, in these realms, there's nobody in music there's people in music that are like I guess make fun of other genres, but it's worse in
there
movies.
Are elitists in every franchise.
I saw the movie like I think 2 days before it came out, just because I had a friend who was able to get me into a press screening. So I went and saw it. Didn't know that the whole world was going to hate it, and that wouldn't have changed my mind if I did. And so I came out thinking like, man, people are going to actually love this movie if they didn't like the first one, or they thought it was a carbon copy. And when everybody came at me or came at the world for the movie, I was like, well, I'm not going to change my mind now. Like, I'm not going to like, why should I change my opinion that I had a good time in the movie? And nobody should.
And
nobody should.
Ryan Johnson did this to himself by being extremely antagonistic online. He made the hate worse.
Right, but
himself.
even if he did, that should not change your opinion about whether the movie is well made or not.
Pretending that they're not intertwined is not realistic, though.
No, but there are lots of directors that I hate and not their movies I like. Like, I love Jojo Rabbit, but I think Taika Waititi is a pretentious prick.
He is a douche.
Potatoes for Seamus said, Wesley, I'm ready for my vlog close-up. DD Megadoodoo97 said, just stopping by to say hi, and hi to my fellow high desert dweller.
High Desert, California. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Halls and the Kids said, Rage Brett is best. Bert.
So is it? I do like that she added the second T in Bert, though. That she didn't shorten it to one T, because like Brett with one T is just wrong. Like, do you know anyone named Matt with one T?
Yeah.
Unironically. Ironically, Matt. Yes.
No, I know.
But they do it on purpose.
They do it, but their parents didn't name them Matt with one T.
I don't imagine. No.
That's just weird. Yeah. It's just like Brent. Brent is just wrong. Brent is just Brett, but you sneezed.
I keep getting.
Your mom was naming you on the birth certificate. She's like Brent, and they're like, oh, Brent, huh? And they just wrote down she was too awkward to correct him.
Dumbledore said, Echo 3 to Echo 7. Han, old buddy, do you read me?
Dumbledore is going to be anti-us forever now because of my take on Star Wars.
That's okay. He already was. Procurasso forever said, you divorced loser. That's a deep cut from Pop Culture Crisis. I don't even remember why I said that. But.
Divorced loser.
Perfect. All right.
Cutting.
Guys, before you go, would you please hit the like button, leave a comment on this video, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. It helps us greatly if you do that. If you would like to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Brett Dasovic, where I rant about Will Trent and all things great and bad with cinema, though mostly better. Like, usually it's me posting stuff that I like rather and stuff that I don't like. Yesterday was an anomaly to focus on the negative. I tend to focus on the positive. For the show, we are here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you want to follow the show on social media, we are at Amazon. On social media. If you want to listen to the show rather than watch, I screwed that one up. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. And if you would like to follow the show on social media, Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at popculturecrisis, and on Instagram at popculturecrisispod. We'll be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.